More college football. Brent Baird will join us at 4. NFL for an hour. Jeff Moore at 4:30. Bo Marchant from collegetopro.com at 5. And then at 5:30, Steve Earhart will join us. I just came back from a rather cool part of the country, and I guess really what I find most interesting about it is I went to a wedding. It was in Santa Barbara, California, and I've been told by people it's one of the few places in California I'd never been. And I'd been told that it is gorgeous and unique, and there was a guy here who had lived all around the world from businesses like Smith & Nephews. He was the guy. His name was Joe DeVivo. This is years ago. And Joe was really one of the guys that helped save the golf tournament when Stanford went under and the fraud was exposed and the golf tournament had nowhere to turn. And Jack Salmons went to Joe DeVivo, who was then the head of Smith & Nephew, and said, can you help? And he was the presenting sponsor. He wasn't a full sponsor, but I think he came with $1 million or whatever it was to keep the thing going. And I asked him one time, he was a member of Colonial Country Club. I said, Joe, you've lived all over the place. What's the nicest place you've ever been? And he said, there's no doubt. If I could pick any place in the world to live, it would be Santa Barbara, California. And so I was really excited about going, and I'll tell you what, it's gorgeous. There is a suburb that sort of adjoins Santa Barbara called Montecito. A bunch of the people that were in the wedding stayed there. The wedding was actually on the beach in Santa Barbara proper. But Montecito is a very cool place, and if you get the right house, you got mountain views, you got ocean views, and the average cost for a home, average price tag on a home in Montecito, California, is $4.5 million. Location.
That's not just the 1%. That's the 1% of 1% right there. That's crazy to think about.
It's impressive. Yeah, well, some people actually will commute to L.A., which would be crazy. Sunday afternoon on the way back, it's about a 2-hour ride. It's less than that if there's no traffic. Sometimes you go 35 miles an hour, and it takes forever. And people commute that every day. It's just, it is a different lifestyle. And you got to pay $4.5 million for the average house.
Yeah, I think I'll pass until I get that type of money.
That is absolutely bunker stuff. That is for sure. I missed a bunch of stuff. Obviously, I'm still in first place in the golf picks.
Unfortunately, you are.
And we will do our last one tomorrow. Is that correct?
That is correct. Which basically, if you win the tournament next week, you win it all. I mean, $15 million is $15 million. I mean, even I in last place can still win.
Is that real? Oh, so we do real money on that. That's right. 15 mil. We do the bonus, not just the tournament. Isn't that the way it works? Isn't there a winner for last year? If I recall correctly, the winner of the tournament at Eastlake was Tiger Woods, who got $2 million for that win, or $1.3 million, or whatever the heck the winner's purse is. And then the winner of the FedEx Cup, and I'm trying to remember who it was, got $12 million. This year it's 15.
Was it Justin Thomas or Justin Rose? I can't remember which one. It's one of the Justins.
I think it was Justin Thomas.
Justin Thomas,
because when the WGC thing was announced, he came. I don't know why. I'll have to look that up. We'll look it up during the break. But I know that was separate. So I
think we're putting it all together.
I got to question that one. Because then why are we even playing it? That's more money than what anybody's got in the whole time.
Keeps everybody interested. Keeps me in fourth place still in the ball game. And I did, I am coming off a pretty impressive week. Both of my guys finished top five.
I think, frankly, you cannot put that money in. That's more than anybody would make in the whole year. So it would all come down to one tournament.
Yeah, pretty much.
Why do the other stuff?
That's what we all decided, Dave.
I don't believe we've decided that.
Standards Committee decided.
What are you, the Standards Committee?
I'm part of it. One of the founding members.
We will definitely have to check on that in just 1 minute. In the meantime, we've got coming your way in a matter of moments. Top story, not top story.
Title sponsor of this hour, and we appreciate them very, very, very much, is Lexus of Memphis, 2600 Ridgeway, and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Give them a call at 901-362-8833. Lexus of Memphis offering the Golden Opportunity Spring Sales Event. Great offers on all 2019 models and always on special lease options. If you ever thought I'd look great in a Lexus, well, guess what? Lexus of Memphis thinks you would look great in a Lexus as well. Drive in luxury and confidence, knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2019 flagship LS500, and you will be looking and driving great. Lexus of Memphis, the highest standards in the industry. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com, 901-362-8833. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
No, this is a sad one. The wife of Arkansas State coach Blake Anderson passed away today at the age of 49. Coach Anderson had taken a leave of absence so that he could be with his ailing wife, Wendy, for the remainder of her days. And that end unfortunately came today. He wrote a very moving tweet on Twitter about how he was able to spend the last moments with her and lay down next to her, and was just so very glad that he could spend 27 years, I believe, of his life with her. She was diagnosed with an aggressive form of breast cancer back in 2017. Took a brief leave, underwent treatment in Mexico, and it actually worked for a while. It came back, and Blake Anderson announced in January that treatments had not been effective. And unfortunately, at way too early an age, Wendy Anderson passed away today. The Red Wolves open their season at home on August 31st against SMU. So SMU is coming to Jonesboro. Defensive coordinator David Dugan will coach the team during Anderson's leave. And Anderson has been very good, like most of the coaches have been since Steve Roberts left. He's gone 39-25 over 5 seasons with Arkansas State. Your top story?
My top story of the day is Antonio Brown won't let the helmet thing go, having filed a new grievance against the NFL last night after the first one was denied. He's the only person in the NFL fighting to keep this thing going, and he just needs to quit. But at least, according to John Gruden, he did practice today in a certified helmet. So hopefully he'll like this one and just let it go. I mean, because I'm tired of hearing about this helmet.
I'm with you. Me too.
Not top story of the day.
And that would be Jimmy Garoppolo, injured since last September, out, coming back, first time since the injury that he plays. Last night, he was 1 for 6, 0 yards, 1 interception. That left him with what you almost think would be impossible. His quarterback power rating from last night's performance was 0.0. 0.0. He took it in stride. He said, look, we've just begun. I'm a little frustrated, but it is preseason. And then he really, to his defense, it was not a very large sample size, but certainly not the way you wanted to come back.
No, definitely not. And looked really bad doing it. I mean, the 1 for 6, all 5 at the incompletions were just pretty darn bad. My not top story of the day is the Brown stars Baker Mayfield and OBJ taking public shots at the Giants and their rookie quarterback. This is not top story for me because they're doing exactly what Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr. do. Baker now claims that the GQ quote misquoted him, or at least didn't print the rest of the quote, and OBJ is just doing what you exactly expect from OBJ. I mean, I would be more surprised if there's a story today that they weren't talking about somebody else or something that doesn't involve them, because they always seem to want to put their hat in something.
The Browns get more pub for nothing than any team.
A lot of talk, but they haven't backed it up a lot yet.
Yeah, In that is top and not top story of the day. This was the top story for me in a long time, and I just wrote back on the whiteboard behind me. Is this the local golf story of the year? As good as the WGC debut was, a heartwarming story for sure. Our friend Doug Barron, who we just talked to a couple of weeks ago, when he had the guts to go to merry old England and qualify to play in the British Senior Open and then ended up fifth, got nothing out of that, and then came back home and qualified with a pre-qualifier and then a qualifier to win wire-to-wire, the first person in the history of the Senior Tour as a newcomer to win wire-to-wire. And Doug Barron, I think you handled it about as cool and collected as you possibly could. I loved it on 18 on your second shot when you knew in the air, you said, that's it. And
yeah.
what were you feeling right there? Because I felt your joy.
Well, I knew when I made that putt at 17 it was over, but I just wanted to stay focused and not have to work on the last hole. So I was trying my butt off just to hit a really good shot, so I could just enjoy the walk. So I accomplished that goal and made it fun.
This has become an incredible story. I didn't realize until reading more about it that you actually had to go pre-qualify to qualify. I never knew the Senior had that deal set up.
Well, so when I went to work at Southwind, I gave up my tour membership, and then since I haven't been back to Q School, I didn't have a tour membership. So yes, I had to go do a pre-qualifier, and there was only 5 spots available in the pre-qualifier, and it took 1 under to get in a playoff. So that's crazy. So, and then once I qualified into the tournament, I never had to do the pre-qualifier again. So that was kind of like my wife Leslie was going, man, that's cool. He doesn't have to go back to the pre-qualifier anymore, at the start of the week. So that was funny.
And then wire to wire. Well, you were right. Your game is absolutely on. How do you attribute that? Not playing in 7 years. I know you've been working on it this last year and going down and playing those mini tours in Florida. But how do you come back from really not playing at all to this level?
Well, I mean, I've played a smaller mini tour, and I learned how to win again, Dave. I mean, I won 3 of those tournaments from wire to wire, and it helped me play under the gun again. And I've got a coach that's worked on literally 2 things in my golf swing and kept it so crazy simple that I'm playing golf again and not thinking about my swing. And not that every now and then I don't have to tweak it, but I'm feeling back like, the old days, except I think I'm a little healthier mentally. Being out of the game so long, I got a little fresher approach to it. So,
is there less pressure that way? I mean, let's face it. I'm assuming LSI is the company that that you're working with, or whatever it is you do for them, because you had that all over your hat.
Bubba Ezell is one of my dear friends. We are trying to work on something right now, but they haven't. I used to work for Bubba and in his business, and he's a great guy. So we are trying to work something out. I said, you can't take the hat away from me. You just got to pay me something now, Bubba. Come on. I got 2 good tournaments. I got to keep wearing it. He's kind of got me stuck, doesn't he?
He does. But he got a lot of exposure out of that. That is for sure. But
no doubt.
But your story is that you went and proved to yourself you could be a businessman. And just talk a little bit about the time away. And you mentioned mentally how much maybe more calm and refreshed you are. Are you a different guy than you were 7 years ago?
There's no question. I mean, I've had some life-changing moments, and it was about 7 years ago. I had to look in the mirror and look at the person I was and say, if you keep staying this person, you're not going to be married much longer. You're not going to get to see your kids, and so I had to make some life changes that have been great. And my wife and I are, she fell in love with me again, basically, and I've been very blessed, man. So I would tell you that, everyone sees what's happened the last couple of weeks. This has been a making for 7 years, so I don't think it's a fluke. I think God had His hand on this deal this week. So,
did you have any inkling, really, literally, when you're traveling to England to go Monday qualify? Did you have any inkling what was in store for you within a 3-week period?
Well, I don't think anybody that's, in my frame of mind. All I knew is that I was playing good golf, and I just wanted to get into the arena and into that mix as quick as I could so I could get comfortable in the arena. And I think over in England, it just turned out that I played a practice round with my buddy Wes Short, and then a practice round with my buddy Tom Gillis and Gibby Gilbert, and then a practice round with my buddy Scott Farrell, who I played with Sunday, and Joe Duran and Dickie Pride. And I just started going, man, I do a lot of stuff as good or maybe even better than some of these guys. And so I just kept feeling that I just kept building confidence as the week went on. So by the time the tournament started, I was like, man, I can start to believe in myself again.
And making every big putt down the stretch, even with we now know how hard it is to get on the senior tour. I think it's harder to get on that tour, unless you're a big name and have won a major, than it is anywhere else. And yet you didn't blink.
It's crazy. Yes. It's the hardest tour in the world to get on. And I'm feeling very blessed right now. So, what I would tell you is I knew how hard it was going in, and the reason I decided to go over to England was I needed to get in the top 72 on the money list. I needed to start Monday qualifying. I need to make some money. So no, you don't ever think about winning. And then all of a sudden you get in this position, and all I've told people is just give me 3 holes to go and let me close it out, or give me a chance. And man, I really had 2 tournaments with 3 holes or 4 holes to go. I really had controlled my own destiny kind of.
And this new destiny is, what is that, 16 months of exemption now?
It sounds something about right. I haven't even thought about it, honestly. I don't even know. But yeah, it sounds about right. Crazy.
Well, I loved your answer to Billy Ray Brown when you basically said, now I got to change my goals. So
yeah.
What have you thought that through yet? What are your goals now?
Well, I mean, obviously, I can free up even more and play. I mean, I'm playing on house money now, so I can just I can play like, hey, let's get in contention again. I mean, I'm not going to set a money goal or where to finish on the money list, but I'd love to get in contention and just keep playing solid. Really, with what I've worked on my swing, I'd like to keep driving the ball good. Obviously, I said I had a great putting week. I can always improve my putting, and I'm having lunch with Lauren Roberts tomorrow. I'm going to hopefully get some wisdom from him. I always love hanging out with him, but I'm not going to really do anything different, honestly, except that I know that I have a place, and I'm just going to kind of pace myself. And really, Dave, I just want to enjoy it more than anything. And that's one of the things Leslie would tell you, my wife, for the viewers that don't know, that I am enjoying myself again, and that's what's made it so fun for our whole family, and what a sacrifice they've made to let me go play these mini tours and get ready and not necessarily be at home when I needed to be. And this is just really, it kind of shows that it was worth it all right now, so it's cool.
I kind of thought you had been happy the last couple of years. You enjoyed...
No, I'm talking about when I'm on the golf course competitively. When I played all those years, I wasn't necessarily always the happiest guy on the golf course. You know me well enough, but it's changed. And I know, the last couple of years I've enjoyed. For the last year, being in tournaments, I'm just enjoying competition and just enjoying where I am. Even if I'm playing for $8,000 for the winner's share or $5,000, I really enjoy being there. So it's cool.
When you were teaching, you had become part of this method of putting where you would take your shoes off, and I'm trying to remember.
Sure. You wouldn't take your shoes off. You feel the slope with your feet. Yeah, you learn how to slope. Yeah, there's a lot of guys out there using aim point. I saw a bunch of guys using it this week.
Were you still using that method?
I use it a lot. Yeah, I don't use my finger every single hole, but I was struggling when it's overcast. My eyes are terrible, so I have to just get down low and look. And my caddy actually had to read some putts for me. I just can't see very good when the lighting's bad. So, and that was it. Yeah, but I do use aim point quite a bit. So.
Oh, so now you've got this whole new world before you.
Right.
The pressure has to be totally off.
Well, I mean, I think when you play tournament golf, there's always some form of pressure. When I get in contention again next week, my arms are going to be shaking. I'm going to feel the same, but I'm just trying to keep it all in perspective, man. I really try not to look too far ahead and just enjoying the day. So, yeah, I mean, it does take a lot of the pressure off. I don't have to go to Q school this year. I mean, it's awesome. I just got my invitation to Wolo in Hawaii.
Wow.
I get to go play there, and I mean, golly, a week ago I couldn't even fathom it. I mean, I spent 12 days up in New York. They thought I was going to buy a house up there. I've been up there so long. So,
what was the reaction of all these guys on the tour? For here you come out of nowhere. They haven't heard from you in 7 years. You finish 5th at the British, and then you come win the next tournament.
Well, I tell you what, I mean, the guys out there are amazing. I've got nothing. I texted back and forth with Lanny Watkins today, Scott McCarron, Scott Farrell, Billy Ray Brown. I was thanking them, and I've gotten so many texts from like Tom Lehman and the guys that I just think the world of, Fred Funk, and just very, very happy and very humbled that these guys have taken time to wish me well and do that. It's maybe a little more camaraderie on the Champions Tour than some of the other tours, and it's just nice to, Woody Austin and I texted this morning. It just feels good to fit in. He wrote me a really nice text about, Doug, I kind of was in the same boat as you. I fought my way, and I really respect you and thank you, and it was just a cool text. It's just really nice when people acknowledge what they know how hard it is to get out there.
And then during that rain delay, here you are with Freddie Couples, who's had quite a bit of success, obviously, on both tours.
Absolutely.
And I mean, it's like you're getting iced. A guy before a free throw with this rain delay. He's in the clubhouse. You're tied with him. What was he talking to you about?
Oh, no. So during the rain delay, Fred Couples and Jay Haas and Billy Andrade and Woody Austin and Billy Andrade's caddy, we were all it was just us six. The players' lounge was real small, and everyone was everywhere, and we hung out watching TV. I actually watched Fred play all day on TV because of the rain delay, and he never brought up golf. He never tried to say anything to get in my head, and he couldn't have been better. And we were just talking about other stuff, honestly. And I told my wife, I called her during the rain delay and said, "Honey, I would rather be me than Fred Couples. He's in the clubhouse. I'm going to hit a wedge in when I go back out. The next hole I can drive, I'm going to be right by the green, and the next hole I'm going to hit a 5 or 6 iron, and then I'll worry about the last hole when it comes last, but I'm going to have a short iron in so I can make birdies going in. It's not like, and it just turned out that birdie on 15 made 16 easier than the shot at 17 was able to free up a little bit more because it was really nice to get that birdie out of the way at 15. So.
I watched you when you came out of the rain delay warm up, and it looked like you played the clubs that you were about to play. Is that what your thinking was?
Oh yeah, I hit about 10 wedges around the 130. I'm pretty good with my wedges within a couple yards, so I worked on that. And then I hit some high cuts. I don't really cut the ball very much, but I wanted to make sure I hit it high and cut it plenty, so I'd be right of the bunkers on that hole 16. And then I hit a few 5 irons and 6 irons. I didn't really practice what I was going to hit on 18 because I just figured by then I'd wing it. So,
and then on 18,
I just kind of I really warmed up for the first 3 holes, and I just figured I'd have a plan by my score what I'd do on 18. So,
what were you thinking when that ball was in the air on 18? Because we saw it come down right by water, and I'm thinking, woo.
Well, I told my caddy, I said, one, I'm going to finish this out and hit driver. I've hit this driver all week. I've hit it good. We're going to go with it. And he said, absolutely. I got no problem with that. Even if I hit it in the water, I could have still knocked on the green and made bogey.
Right.
But that was huge. I mean, I knew the tournament was over. I knew I could make a bogey on 18. The worst thing I could have done, I could have hit it in the water and I could still knock it on. So that could have been a bad scenario. If I hit it in the right trees, I could have chipped it out. Bogey's easy to make on that hole. Now, if it had been a tough hole, I would have grinded down, and I sure didn't like where I saw it going when it came off the club face, though. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did that.
Yeah.
But it was still fine. I mean, my misses were good last week, so I mean, it was just my time, I guess. So,
and then I'm sure
cool.
You must have gotten 1,000 texts.
Yeah, it's almost up to 2,000. I've tried to respond, to most of my dear friends and at least acknowledge everyone. I just really am so appreciative of all the text I've received, and couldn't be more thrilled. I mean, it's just an outpouring of support. It's been great, man. So
And what do you do next? And you know you're off this week, and then what?
I'm leaving for Calgary on Monday. I just booked a plane flight, so I committed to the rest of the year. I just physically and mentally, the backstory to everything. I pre-qualified, and my back went out on Friday after putting and hitting balls. And I couldn't get out of bed Saturday, so literally my back. I played with a hurt back all week. I had my friend Alan Krause kind of mess around with it. I'm gonna go work out in the morning, see how I feel, and see if I need to do anything else. Maybe go get some physical therapy. So.
Well, we're thrilled for you. You're an unbelievable story from all that you've had to go through, from the suspension to everything.
Sure. Sure.
You're one tough cookie. That's all I can say.
Well, man, I appreciate you, Dave.
Thank you, Doug. Best of
You
luck
got
the
it.
rest of the way.
Yes, sir.
That
Thanks.
is the champion of the Dick's Sporting Goods, and what an unbelievable story from out of nowhere. 3 weeks ago, no one knew who Doug Barron was. They just remembered the story of the suspension. And now, through all those trials and tribulations, he prevails. It's one of the great comeback stories. It truly is. I know you've probably heard a bunch of it, but we're just so happy that he could come on and be with us, too, today, because that is just terrific stuff. I'm sitting here in the Family Leisure studio. We're celebrating the end of summer with that end of summer liquidation sale with pools as low as $19.99, top of the line patio furniture starting as low as $12.99, and even the swim spas, which may have the best price I've ever seen, under $1,000, $9.99 for the swim spa. That's the big one. That's pretty darn cool. And there's still enough summer left to enjoy these great deals as the end of summer liquidation sale goes on at Family Leisure. That's I-40 and Whedon Road. 70,000 square feet of family and fun, all coming together. Just warms my heart to think about what Doug Barron has accomplished here in the last 2.5 or 3 weeks. The Tigers were toiling in Jackson. It looks like they're getting closer. Pretty soon we'll get it 2 deep. Pretty soon we'll really start talking about knocking heads with Ole Miss. Gabe Kuhn will start talking about that right now with us in just a minute as we take this quick time out on Sports Time with Wolo and Stats.
Sports 56 now has 2 FM homes. You can now find real sports talk on 96.1 as well as 87.7 on your FM dial.
Dreaming of the coast? Wake up and run to Crab King's Seafood. For the most flavored seafood and biggest plates, there's a Crab King's near you. Visit the Bartlett Cordova location at 7140 Stage Road or the East Memphis location at 5992 Knight Arnold Road. Top Memphis food reviews recently picked Crab King's as a winner in their top 10 category for 2019. Now you know what the King stands for in Crab King's. The price, the portions, the service is why Crab King's is #1. So don't dream of good seafood. Make the right choice the first time and every time. Make it Crab King's. Come and devour tasty snow crabs, king crabs, shrimp, salmon, catfish, calamari, and more. Enjoy Memphis's best tasting pasta with your choice of toppings. Visit the Bartlett Cordova location at 7140 Stage Road or the East Memphis location at 5992 Knight Arnold Road. Crab King's is open Tuesday to Sunday. Enjoy 50% off lunch portions and dollar fountain drinks and hang out with Crab King's for Friday night parties from 8 to 10. For more information, Google Crab King's Memphis or download the app for a free drink with every order. Crab King's, always a Memphis favorite.
Let's say you just bought a house. Bad news is, you're one step closer to becoming your parents. Soon you'll have a separate fridge in the basement where extra groceries are exiled forever. Remember that frozen lasagna? Of course you don't. It's been down there since 2008. Good news is, it's easy to bundle home and auto through Progressive and save on your car insurance. Piece of cake. Behind the lasagna, it's very old. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129. Now, back to Sports Time with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Wolochen and Brett Norsworthy.
Welcome back in as we cruise through hour number 1. Lower humidity today, a little nicer outside. I imagine it was pretty hot in Jackson, Tennessee when the U of M was involved in their second public scrimmage. I think it's their last public scrimmage of the year before we get ready for Memphis and Ole Miss a week from Saturday. We got 2 football games on Saturday, and then we are in full swing. Joining me now, former Tiger center Gabe Kuhn, who you listen to 1 to 3 every day right here with Johnny Harden. Mm-hmm. I asked you, I guess it was last week, about the offensive line. Apparently in Jackson, they were a lot more cohesive. They were much better together.
Yeah, and that's what's going to happen with a young group. When you have, it's basically 4 guys in new positions, there's a learning curve. So when people were freaking out about that first scrimmage, it's just you can't hold them to that high of a standard that early. Obviously, as we get to the back half of camp, you're going to have to start seeing some things start to click, some things start to turn on, and I really want to see. I want to challenge that group. I want to see if that group can really run block to the extent that last year's group did. Obviously, that's a very high standard.
That is,
but. If they can get
what did we have? Two almost a 2,000-yard runner and 2 1,000-yard runners in Pollard and in Patrick Taylor.
Yeah, and if Darryl would have played the bowl game, it would have been 2,000 easy.
Oh, no question.
Yeah, so if they can get even 75% of the production of last year in the run game, I will be very happy with that group.
Kenny Gainwell, or it's Kenneth Gainwell now?
Yeah.
At least in the paper. I haven't asked him yet. We'll see what he says to me when he wants to be called.
I see Kenneth a lot, though.
Kenneth?
Yeah.
Well, that's he actually told the newspaper he wants imprint to be Kenneth, but his teammates still call him Kenny. So I'm not sure what he wants me to call him, but whatever it is,
whatever it is.
I'll go by what he wants to be called. But apparently he looked good in Jackson.
I got to imagine. He is Tony Pollard Jr., from what I'm hearing, as far as just being able to do a lot of things. He's fast. He looks young and a little bit sort of skinnier at this moment, but I can see him being a great change of pace to Patrick at the very least. So I honestly, I feel like we have to see that for the offense to be as productive as they were a year ago.
You got to have a game changer, but you got other guys that could do it. The kid came from Martin, Kevian.
There's Travion Samuel.
I mean, yeah. Well, he's like a walk-on,
and he looks
crazy.
And I've been out to practice twice.
Don't forget Tim Taylor, kid from East that had a lot of promise, and he lost some weight.
I think he would take more of those Patrick Taylor touches though, because he's more of that. He's a workhorse back. He can run between the tackles really well. I've seen him. He's got a big lower body. He's just big, swole kid, and looks like he's lost a little bit of weight to be able to, scoot a little more.
They said that's what he did. He lost like 10 or 15 pounds to gain a little quicker half step there.
Yeah.
And we'll see if that all pays off. And apparently Brady White was very effective. 2 drives, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's been, and I've sort of tried to point this out, is there's always, with him, it's drastically one way or the other. You either love him or you don't. I feel like the middle ground is where you need to be with him at this moment, because he's a guy who is going to be more experienced within this offense, and that will help him. I don't think he's a guy that's ever going to be some gunslinging quarterback, but you can't expect that out of him. He sort of showed that. But for people to say that he stinks, no. Look at his stats. Look at what he did last year.
Well, you would take those numbers right now.
Absolutely.
Are you kidding me? 3,300 yards, 26 touchdowns, 9 picks?
And then on the other side, though, people saying that he's the reason that they would win a New Year's Six bowl. I think that's a little drastic, because you look at his skill position players and Patrick and Coxie and Pop and the tight ends. I think that those guys are going to help him come along even more than he did last year.
Well, let's go back, because I do think there is, trying to be as politically correct when I say this, a little bit of a defensive stance by anybody on that side from the inside that talks about Brady White.
Yeah.
Especially on the offensive side of the ball. Mm-hmm. And I think Mike Norvell actually said there were 3 of us that were standing with him. Mm-hmm. And he basically said, this thing about a rifle of an arm is the most overrated thing I've ever seen. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's totally an accurate statement that I would make, but here's what he is trying to say, and he did. He said the most important thing to me is accuracy and rhythm. You have to be in the same rhythm as your receiver, and then the ball has to be where it's supposed to be delivered in the rhythm of the play.
And how many quarterbacks have rifles of arms and can't throw the thing out of their own shadow to a guy? That happens so much. And I think when you look at Brady, it's above the neck. He knows exactly what he's supposed to do on any given play. Last year, there were some mistakes, not a lot. I think all those, if not most of those mistakes, are going to disappear. And he will be better than advertised for sure this year.
He certainly knows the offense, and there was a good point that was made in a story, and I don't remember if it was in the Commercial Appeal or the Daily Memphian today, but the gist of the story is he knows the offense better than the offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
because he knew this offense at Arizona State.
Yeah, and it just kills me that there's no middle ground with him. There's these two drastic, far, one way, far the other. I think he is a very good quarterback when he it has a good game plan around him. And if he has in his head what he knows how to do and executes it, it'll be fine. And I don't think people really realize that you don't need to have a rifle of an arm. You really don't. You need to be good above the neck.
And you have to have an adequate arm, and I think that we do know that he's got that.
I think you could throw intermediate routes fine and in short routes. And a lot of his – and people got to realize a lot of his stuff, as far as, a lot of his passes are a lot flinged out to the side and a lot of screen passes. So, I mean –
Well, that's the game today, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
Instead of a run?
You're not necessarily asking him to throw these deep balls like Riley was throwing to Ant. And that's not what that offense is trying to do. And I think – Norvell is a good enough offensive coach to realize that and play to the strengths.
Defensively, we talked about the woes maybe of the offensive line last week. Here's the thing you never know, like at a spring game or even in fall practice. One side of the ball looks so good. Is that because that side looks so good or the other side's not that good? I tend to think here's what I think I do know.
Okay.
And you tell me if I'm wrong. I think defensively, this team is much faster than it was a year ago.
I see faster. I don't know. I haven't really gotten a great read on how they look defensively and speed wise. I have seen what they're doing with the scheme, and finally, I can say they're playing to the front seven's strengths. They're playing to what they do well. You put JoJo Dorcius on the edge instead of inside, having to deal with these 300-pound linemen. And you put O'Brien Goodson in a place where he doesn't have to be directly in the middle of that offensive line, head up as a nose guard. You put him where he can be fast, be quick, and make some explosive plays and get penetration. And I just love to see that. Now, that being said, I don't know where my expectations should be because I haven't seen this team against anybody else besides their own offense. So I am so curious to see because expectation setting usually would be off a year prior, but I think this is basically a new group as far as you look at it.
Difference, yes. Well,
obviously same players, different scheme.
I also think it's a deeper team. Mm-hmm. You do have newcomers, but you also have guys who've played for a couple of years because of injuries. They were pressed into service so early. So these are experienced guys with backups. I can remember 2 years ago, I think I was saying the same thing, that everybody got hurt. Mm-hmm. But I think it's the deepest defense I've seen at Memphis.
Oh, yeah. Well, I would venture to say there's a lot of guys that have gotten playing time. Defensive line, 2 years in a row. You talk about last year and the year before, it was decimated. There was no one on that D-line healthy.
Well, you were counting on a guy like Jackson Dillon who just frankly never came back.
He couldn't get healthy, and Emmanuel Cooper was another guy who had struggles staying healthy. So, I mean, there's a lot of guys that were pushed in maybe a little too early, And there's a lot to be said. It could help development, it could hurt development, it could hinder it a little bit. We'll see what happens. And I think a lot of those guys have come along. You look at John Tate. I think he's a guy that's prepped for a pretty decent year. And then Bryce Huff, man, I can't say enough about him. And I think the change from last year's defensive scheme to this year's defensive scheme will play to him even more. I mean, he was one of the leaders in the AAC in sacks, and I think he'll be right up there again.
And also with the new scheme, there's less of these hybrid positions. So now you've got Austin Hall
playing straight linebacker,
playing as a straight linebacker. Does that worry you? Is he big enough to do that?
He is a heady player, and I don't think they're going to put him in a position to be, he may be playing inside, but he's not going to be the inside linebacker. He's still going to roam a little bit. He's going to cover some guys. I'm not worried about it because I think he is a smart enough player, and that's how he has always played. He's always been a really smart guy. Where he's supposed to be, he's a guy you don't really have to worry about.
I agree. His form and tackling is amazing.
Oh God, yeah. And I think he can cover well enough. Some like tight ends. He struggles a little bit with some quicker guys, but I think he can cover well enough to be a really, really good interior linebacker.
Secondary?
I don't really have worries as far as TJ Carter goes.
No.
The other side, you have Chris Claybrooks. I've heard really, really good things about him.
Me too.
Depth might be an issue. Depth could certainly be an issue. And, I'll take it back. I am a little bit worried, but I'm not as worried as I've been in the past, if that makes any sense.
You've got Leandre Thomas back there as well, who I can remember when he first started to play, they said, well, the guy's never played this position before. And two different coaches said, I think he's got the ability to play on Sunday.
He is a world-class athlete. I've been in the rec center at Memphis when he is doing 360 dunks and absolute tomahawks in there. He is a ridiculous athlete. It was just getting him coached up. It was just getting him because he played corner when he got there. They transitioned to safety. They just got to find a niche for him. And I think this year might be the first year where you see him play a big, big role within that defense.
I'm switching back to offense here for a second. One guy that intrigues me because there's got to be a niche for him, only because he's got world-class speed. I can't wait to really see what Calvin Austin can do. He had the first touch he ever had was gone. See you later.
Yeah, I would. Do you think he's going to play a big role within the offense?
I don't know that he will this year, but when you see a guy,
track speed, he's 4.3 speed.
Yeah, he's amongst the elite of the conference in track.
Mm-hmm.
He was on the junior United States team.
Yeah, and I just don't know if they're going to find a role for him because I feel like he might be a little bit small.
What about kick return or punt return?
See, that's one of those things you either have it or you don't.
In high school, you know how many returns he had for touchdown, both kicks and punts?
No idea. A lot?
Yeah, a lot.
Well, I think you can
seems like he had one every game.
I don't think they're going to find a big niche for him within the offense necessarily, but if he shows the ability to, be a game breaker and a playmaker in special teams, they're absolutely going to do it, especially losing Tony.
All right, besides Coxie, Pop, give me another guy that you think. Antonio Gibson, maybe? He looked pretty good at a couple of practices I saw.
I love Kadarian Jones. I have. He's had some trouble since he's been here. I don't know about, all the things behind the scenes necessarily that he's been doing in the past year, but I love him. I think he's a big-bodied receiver. I think he's strong. I think he's got good hands. But, yeah, playing behind a guy like Coxie is going to maybe hinder him a little bit, but I think Gibson does as well. So that's a guy I'm looking at to have a good year, especially him being a senior. He's been there a while. He knows what he's expected to do. He knows what he needs to do. He's just got to do it.
Has this been up to now? And let's face it, next week it's game planning week. This is the end of camp as we know for fall.
Yep, depth charts are about set.
I think it is. What do you think? 6 punt returns for touchdown, 5 kickoff returns for touchdown while at Harding Academy. Calvin Austin.
What do I think about as a whole for the first game, for the first week,
for the first camp, for this fall camp, good camp
for this fall. I would venture to say a good camp. I mean, every report I've read out of it has been pretty positive. I wouldn't say normally it isn't positive, but when there is a bunch of negative distractions, there's going to be issues. But from what I've seen so far, it's been a successful camp. Sounds like they did well in Jackson and corrected some of those things in that first scrimmage that people didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the first game goes, we're going to have to see. And I don't think it's going to be the Tigers versus themselves, because Ole Miss is a team that needs to find an identity. They don't really have an identity yet. And there's going to be questions revolving around what they're even going to look like when they come out on the field. So
right, will they look like Rich Rodriguez's offense, which I would suspect yes. Will they look like Mike McCarthy's defense? I would suspect yes.
But in the first year with both, there's going to be a learning curve. And
McIntyre, by the way, Mike McIntyre.
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah,
close enough. But in first year with both of those guys, it's not going to be perfect. So, especially in the first game. So, I am not ready to make a call on that. But I think the Tigers are going to have to play really well. I really do, because I think there's a somewhat of a talent situation that they're going to have to make up for. Ole Miss will always have some good guys up front. Memphis has a brand new O-line.
Although Ole Miss has a brand new O-line.
Yeah, they do too. So
we got a lot of similarities.
Yeah, we do. And
they lost two great receivers. Memphis lost two great running backs.
I don't think it sways far either way. I think it's a very, very good matchup. Very good matchup. I think it'll be really close.
By the way, great story in the LA Times about the two Tigers that were steals in the draft. Mainly theirs was about Henderson, but then Pollard stole the show in the game.
God, did he look good.
That those two play. And I know Jerry Jones said Zeke who, trying to be funny, but there has to be some sense of if we have to go without Elliott this year, we do have a guy that can play.
And I saw Skip Bayless talk about this yesterday. It made me laugh because he claimed that he wasn't an expert, and then he claimed he was. But long story short, I think there's some truth to what Jerry Jones was saying. Because when you look at what Tony did in that game, and I know it's one preseason game, but he's done it in two so far. He's done well in both. He can catch the ball. He can run between the tackles. His zone vision is better than I think any Memphis fan thought it was, because we really never got to see him in that capacity.
I had several people who said to me, and they were not putting down Henderson, but they said when it comes to the NFL, Pollard will be the one. And they'll both be good, but Pollard will be the one to shine. And so far, you would have to say that is the case in the couple of preseason games they played. The touchdown that Pollard had against the Rams was sensational, because not only did he have to hit the hole hard, he had to make a lateral move, and then he had to beat a guy who had a beat on him and made contact, and he got through the contact. He did three things that you would hope for in a back, all in that one play, to get to pay dirt.
Yeah, and the one thing about him that I've known the whole time is he does not get tackled easily. Those arm tackles do not work on him. So them taking him out after the first series, after he brought them into the end zone, also tells you something about what their plans are with him this year.
If they had Zeke in camp, they might have kept him in longer.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Yeah. But I know they don't want him to get hurt.
Gabe Kuhn, as always, we appreciate your coming in. We'll talk to you next week. We'll match up the game.
Yeah.
Because we got it.
It's going to be fun.
Week from Saturday. Ooh, I cannot wait. That is for sure. This portion of the show brought to you by Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. Ken knows, okay, it's a big, big decision you're making. You want the dream home. Or maybe it's the renovation. Renovation with an innovation, I call it, because all that new technology is put into the old home. You don't want to give up. You don't want to give up the location. You love it. You don't want to give up your yard that you're so used to, that you've planted flowers and maybe even trees that have grown now. You don't want to give that up, but you want the new modern amenities. Ken knows. He's seen it all. He's been in the business for 40 years. Go to kengarland.com. You'll see what I'm talking about. And then call. Ask questions. 751-1632. He's the perfect guy to answer all the questions. He's a complete design and build firm, which means, and this is the way he is, he sees all the little details in the big picture all at the same time. He's unique, and he's got the answers for you. You ask him a question, he'll tell you yes or no. And if it's yes, he'll tell you how much and how long, and he's always on the money. By the way, he shows up every day. He doesn't send supers and foremans. He's there with you. Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. That number again, 751-1632. We put a wrap on hour number 1 in just a minute. This is the Tuesday edition of Sports Time with Wolo and Stats.
Take Sports 56 with you on your phone or tablet. Download our official Sports 56 app today.
At First Bank Mortgage, their core purpose is to help you get to a better place. That better place may be a lower monthly payment, that vacation you thought was impossible, or getting into a home with a fenced backyard where your kids can play. To get into your better place, First Bank Mortgage makes decisions right here at home. Dedicated to helping you get to your better place, First Bank Mortgage. Call Daniel Mooney at 901-462-0145 today. NMLS 741022. Equal housing lender.
NFL Game Pass is back. See all of the out-of-market preseason games live on your device.
This guy is getting it done.
All the rookies.
Here's Murray taking off.
All the hype.
I've never seen speed like that.
All the hope.
This dude right here is the best we've seen.
All the football you can handle, all in one place.
Better get your popcorn ready.
NFL Game Pass. Start your free trial today at NFL.com/Game Pass.
Duncan Williams Investment Bankers presents Toby Keith at Live at the Garden Saturday, August 31st at the beautiful Memphis Botanic Garden.
How do you like me now?
One night, Toby Keith, all the hits.
That was 1,452 beers ago.
With opening act High Valley. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. For more information, visit liveatthegarden.com. Doors open at 6:30. Show starts at 8:30. Also presented by FedEx, True Green, Infinity of Memphis, Regions Bank, Radiance, Pro Show, Mahaffey Tent, and PDR. That's Toby Keith at Live at the Garden Saturday, August 31st at the Botanic Garden.
Now, back to Sports Time with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
We like to party.
Brett off. He'll be back next Monday. We'll start breaking down all these games. Can't wait. We'll be making predictions on Fridays all throughout the college football season. We're going to start making on Monday all of our breakdowns of each team in the SEC, wins and losses and where and when. That'll be a lot of fun, and we'll also go over the AAC, and, of course, we'll break down Memphis' season as well. That will come in the last day on Friday. We did get our answer. I love our folks who listen on Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7, and they message us on Sports 56 WHBQ or on Facebook, on Periscope, on Instagram, on YouTube, and on Twitter. And it was Justin Rose who won the FedEx Cup.
I knew it was one of the Justins. Just which country was he from? And what last name?
Yeah, Rose, England. There you go. And so he got the $12 million, and Tiger won the money. So it just makes sense because somebody could win this tournament if they're number 30 and just get the 1.3.
Brett did clarify with
me. And then Koepka gets the $15 million.
Brett did, as texted me and said, it's just the prize money for tour champions, not bonus. And to remind you that it's 20 and up world golf ranking.
Is that the spirit of 20? Or is that really 20?
We're going to say really 20.
Jordan Spieth.
Well, what's 4 spots among friends?
Well, what was 3 spots the week before?
Dave, out of bounds is out of bounds. Come on. And John Gowen's the guest, and he's a great guy. And he's hooked me up the last couple weeks at Timber Trust, so I'm okay with it.
So you can be bought? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I can be bought.
Oh,
you throw a free lunch or two my way, maybe my vote changes.
So if he gives you free play this weekend at Timber Trust, he can pick the number 3 guy with his
if that's his offer. If you want to try to up the offer, Dave, I mean,
my goodness,
I'm open to all sides negotiations. Whatever you want to bring to the table, I'm open ears.
This is just a sham. This is not the way it's been done in the past. This is stats teaching you.
We never said the standards committee wasn't open to bribes.
Oh,
we had never said we were above that line.
That comes from stats political background, I guess. We take this quick timeout. When we come back, we will be joined by Brent Beard. More college football, because we got 2 games this coming weekend. We got the new list of coaches on the hot seat. Gus Malzahn's always on that hot seat, isn't he? Amazing.
He can't get off it.
He can't. Back in a minute. This is Sports Time with Wolo and Stats.
At Jason's Deli, you can stuff yourself full of great deli food that's healthy, fresh, and best of all, it's not expensive. Jason's Deli is all about choice. Whether you're looking for a gluten-free menu, vegetarian sandwiches, healthy kids' meals, or if you'd like to invent your sandwich via the build-your-own selections, Jason's Deli has you covered. And they only use fresh, wholesome ingredients. Choose from the club and specialty sandwiches, paninis, wraps, soups, salads, pastas, and much more. I love the cleanliness in the restaurant, the hospitality, and of course the cost. They have a huge salad bar and great soups, including Southwest chicken chili, fire-roasted tortilla, organic vegetable, tomato basil, and many, many more. And if you're planning an event, their catering department is fantastic and can handle any size party. Go check out Jason's Deli's 4 locations. On Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, that's my favorite, on Germantown Parkway in Cordova, at Poplar and Highland, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch.
Gun enthusiasts in the Mid-South know all about guns and ammo at 3615 Summer and 577 Goodman Road, Suite 4 at the corner of Goodman and Elmore in South Haven, because they carry the largest selection of both guns and ammo in the area. They are authorized dealers of Colt, Benelli, CZ, Smith & Wesson, Glock, Ruger, Sig Sauer, Vergara, and a lot more. If you or someone you know is looking for something for self-defense, competition, hunting, or just something that goes boom, then get to Guns and Ammo, 3615 Summer in Memphis and 577 Goodman Road, Suite 4 at the corner of Goodman and Elmore in South Haven. DeSoto Auto Sales specializes in late model cars with low mileage. They have the highest standards in the car industry. All of their cars are test-driven, checked out from head to toe, unlimited inventory, every make and model, and if it's not on the lot, they'll find it for you. Walk in the door of DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Within 45 minutes, you can test your car, get credit approval, and finish paperwork within an hour. No shortcuts at DeSoto Auto Sales. Kind, courteous employees, a down-home environment. DeSoto Auto Sales cares about your time. Lowest prices in a 350-mile radius. We're living in a world today where time does matter. Visit them online. Check out their referrals. DeSotoAutosales.com. Very proud to serve DeSoto County and other surrounding areas. DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Call 662-890-7184. 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto Auto Sales.
If you're an outdoorsman and love all things hunting and fishing, be sure to listen to Sports 56 Saturday mornings at 6 a.m. for Outdoors Today. Brought to you by the Gun Store, 6920 Winchester in Memphis. Outdoors Today is a 1-hour show hosted by veteran Mark Tobin and a group of respected outdoor-loving guests. Outdoors Today is dedicated to bringing outdoorsmen tips and techniques and tactics to help with your hunting and fishing in all seasons. Saturday mornings at 6 on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 87.7 and 96.1 FM.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, more of Sports Time with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Ocean and Brad Norsworthy.
Welcome back in hour number 2 on this Tuesday. So nice to have you with us. Brett off for the week, a little R&R. I think he's got meetings down at Ole Miss and making the most of his time, but a little rest for him. He will be back and ready to go, as we all will be, because next week's always a big week. But when you're sort of in this mode of we can't wait, we want to talk more and more about college football because we got games on Saturday. We are joined in Jacksonville, as we always are, by Brent Beard, and there's a bunch of stories for the college football fan that are out there today, like Auburn's going to go with a freshman as their starting quarterback, but there's a sad story that is out there to start, and that is the head coach at Arkansas State, Blake Anderson, his wife, who'd been in a battle for 3 years with breast cancer, lost that battle today and passed away at the age of 49. He had taken a leave of absence. I don't know if he will coach in the game August 31st against SMU. Their defensive coordinator David Dugan is going to run practices here and be the interim coach while Blake is away. Grief is something you have to deal with, and you don't know how long it takes because there is no timetable on that. But we wish our thoughts and prayers to Blake Anderson and his family.
Well, and Blake needs to take as much time off if he needs in this situation, particularly if there are kids involved, because they frankly need him there during that time, Dave, and that's going to be very important. And look, he probably has hired good people, and they can take care of it. And they just sometimes you just need to be with your family. They don't need any of this. I'm a tough guy, bravado, garbage. At times, they're just, and he needs to deal with it too. He's going through grief, and football takes a back seat to that. And I agree with you with that one. The Auburn situation is interesting. I thought that Joey Gatewood, the kid from Jacksonville down here, may get that job, but he's going to end up having to play both of them because, look, Dave, you know, like I do, there aren't many Tuas and there aren't many Trevor Lawrences, are there? And Bo Nix is heralded, but he's going against defenses that will confuse him at times, and the peril, the dichotomy there, I guess, between in the Oregon game between he and Justin Herbert, you've got a kid as green as grass, and then you've got Justin Herbert, who has frankly seen everything. Will be another interesting matchup, and you've got an embattled coach in Gus Malzahn, who can now tell the alumni and his athletic director, well, we've got this young kid that we're bringing along, so in that way, regardless of the record, I need to be around for a while.
Like, really, if I looked at this battle, the way I think it came down, didn't it come down to Joey Gatewood, the other freshman? They were both four-star freshmen that he beat out?
Yeah, I mean, basically, and what's a little bit maybe surprising about that is in the first scrimmage, Bo had multiple interceptions, at least two that we know of, and I've heard maybe even three. So obviously in the second scrimmage, and again, we probably may never know, it was obvious that he rebounded. Dave, I'm still probably guessing that they're very close. Bo probably edged them out a little bit. But again, they both will end up having to play.
It's the first true freshman to ever earn the starting job in Gus Malzahn's 6 years at Auburn.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, if I saw this correctly a few minutes ago, it was the first true freshman. Yeah, the first true freshman starting quarterback at Auburn since 1946.
Wow.
How about that?
This kid better be. I know his father was pretty darn good there, Pat.
Yeah.
But this kid must be pretty good if he could do all of that. All right, I was in California for a wedding. I talked a little bit about that earlier in the program. But so I read a bunch of the LA Times, and in there, one of the columnists made an excellent point. And I did not realize this. Since there have been the playoffs, there has not been a conference that played 9 conference games that has won a title.
Yeah, and obviously he's talking about the Pac-12 being closed.
Correct.
But in general, that is true, and that is why, or one of the reasons why, I don't think you will see the SEC be in any real hurry to do that, even though Gus Malzahn and some other schools, including Nick Saban in Alabama, are wanting to go to 9 games. Dave, I still think it happens. It's not going to be anytime soon, maybe in 5 years, probably certainly in 10, simply because you've got to increase the competitiveness of these games. But all in all, that's a solid point, and because you play that one extra conference game, and you've always got a chance, particularly if it's on the road, of losing it.
No, that was the point that was made. And if you take a look at, let's say, USC's schedule this year, compare it with Alabama's, and you add that extra tough game within your conference, my goodness, it's tough. And the Pac-12, the Big 12, and the Big 10 all play 9 conference games.
That's right.
So the only 2 conferences really where anybody could win a championship would be the SEC and the ACC, and they only play 8. And it has turned out to be a big advantage, unless it's just sheer coincidence, and I don't think it is.
And the teams that have won championships have been from those conferences.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely it is. So that, and obviously both Clemson and Alabama have the 2 best rosters in the nation too, to go along with that. But that all, and the writer of that article was spot on from what's happened, at least to this point.
Well, if I were a member of the Pac-12, the Big 10 or the Big 12, I'd be shouting to the rooftops about that when it comes time for selection. I'd be going, well, we play the extra hard game. That's got to be taken into consideration when you're trying to figure out which 4 to invite.
Yeah. Well, what these other conferences need to be doing, Dave, is they need to be shouting from the rooftops, we need to expand the playoffs, because that's what's going to give them accessibility, which is what they don't have right now, because of their schedule is another reason why they're not making it. But that is their ultimate answer, is for them to be able to do that, and that's what I've told our friends at UCF who have said, what can we do? And my answer to that is you get your AD and your brethren within your conference and your commissioner to do the same thing that we're talking about, is to rattle the cages and shout it from the mountaintop that that the playoffs need to be expanded, and if they are, you've got a shot to get in.
You and I echo the same things. We've said this before. You get 8. You got 5 conference winners. You've got 1 for the group of 5.
Right.
The best team of the group of 5, and then you've got the 2 best that are wild card teams.
And Dave, listen, they make this sound like this is nuclear physics. There's nothing hard about this. As far as we're not talking about expanding to 16 or 32 or something of that nature. This is adding 4 more teams. You give your top 2, top 4 home game in here, but that's the main thing, is you give these other conferences this access, because right now, if you don't do that, look, the Pac-12 is going to get in there anytime soon, much less the non-Power 5s, the way this thing's set up at this point. So, look, that's the way to go, and I'm hoping by the middle of the next decade we'll see it.
Well, the best thing for that to happen, honestly, is that it continues, that the SEC gets 2 teams in, and Notre Dame gets in, and then there's only one other conference that gets in, and now you got 3 get shut out, and they're not going to keep that going. That's
no,
the best thing.
And frankly, they don't need to keep it going much longer than what they're doing now, because that could happen at any time. And particularly if you're the Big Ten and how you've been left out, you need to be able to deal with that ASAP.
Let me ask you this, and I throw this to our texters at 67129 on the First Bank text line. Would you get tired of watching Alabama and Clemson every year if that's the way it turns out?
No,
we do love dynasties, but don't you have to have other teams involved?
Well, I mean, you could even say, do you get tired of watching Tom Brady and the Patriots every year? And people will say, I hate them, but I'm glad they're in there because I can hate them. So, look, will this last forever? Likely not, because you and I have seen how this stuff cycles in and out. But your blue bloods are going to you're going to have some of them in there all the time. So I frankly think that Alabama and Clemson are good for college football and being in the championship, because it gives something for these other schools to strive for. And if you're, as you were being out there, a Southern Cal or UCLA that want to get back into playing for championships, that's basically what they're going to have to do too. But I mean, Dave, there are reasons Clemson and in Alabama are there, and one of the reasons is, and I had a friend that sent this to me today. In recruiting dollars, it was the SEC and the ACC have spent the money on recruiting. I mean, it was an unimaginable amount of money for those two conferences. The last place conference in spending money for recruiting was Pac-12. And you've got the results for that right now, and they've done little of anything over the last few years.
There was an interesting story in your neck of the woods today. Florida and Miami have scheduled a home-and-home series for 24 and 25. That renews an in-state rivalry. It used to be an annual affair. How did that all work out?
I think it's going to be tremendous. They have this is a desire to get the rivalry going again, and it's also a desire to have better games for your fans. And anytime you can get a rivalry like that renewed, I mean, Dave, in this state, that it may not be as fierce as a Texas A&M, but when these two teams get together, there's no love for each other. The players all know each other, that they've all been recruited from that same pool. And I don't know if we will ever see it again on a yearly basis, but they need to play at least once every, 3 to 5 years, something like that. And that's why you've got tremendous interest, and I'm looking forward to being there Saturday night for that game, even though that's a regional state of Florida game. Dave, that's appointment viewing for people around the nation come Saturday night.
Will they ever put schools like USF and UCF in those kind of regional battles?
That's a good question. Maybe. And frankly, selfishly, I hope they do. I'd love to be able to see that. And obviously, I would love to see the UCF in Florida. I mean, I know UCF did not want to do it, but I'd love to see it. I'd love to see that in a 2-for-1. Listen, there's enough here in this state right now that if they all had a round robin day, it would be fascinating, and that's without even saying FIU with Butch Davis or FAU with Lane Kiffin.
Yeah. And that would be interesting. I don't know if Lane Kiffin's going to stay at FAU forever, but we will see. Is that Miami-Florida game your favorite game on the 31st?
It would be the great thing for them in playing this weekend is they've got all the eyes on them. And next, I would say for next week, that's a great question. For next weekend, probably. Obviously, Auburn and Oregon have so much at stake, and I'm curious when you were out there, Dave, if you heard a lot of talk about that game when you were out there.
No, because when I'm reading the LA Times, they care about USC and UCLA.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, absolutely. That's a fascinating game. Look, I'm not saying Vandy will win, but because it's a conference game and it's the first game of the year, and Vanderbilt's got, could we argue, their best offense maybe in years?
And they're home.
Potentially, the interest level of that game could go past halftime, deep into the third quarter before that's over too. So, but no doubt, Auburn and Oregon is really probably the headliner for Labor Day weekend.
Well, when we sit here and we think about this, and I love the first week for this because they have tried to make it special. We got Memphis and Ole Miss, and that obviously is the big game around here. And can't wait for that. And
that is a big game.
We'll really get a sense of just how good Memphis or Ole Miss really are. Because I think both teams will be bowl teams before all is said and done. And you've got Oregon and Auburn, as you mentioned. You got the Miami-Florida game. The Vandy-Georgia game is cool. Don't forget North Carolina-South Carolina.
Listen, that is a gargantuan game for South Carolina. So, Dave, South Carolina, that's a game they need to win because in 2 weeks after that, they've got Alabama coming in.
Right.
And that might be the difference between them going to a bowl or not. And Dave, there are a lot of people who think that Toledo could beat Kentucky early on. So, yes, there are plenty of interesting games. Obviously, the LSU-Texas game the week after that is going to be very huge. And then you've got Georgia-Notre Dame afterwards. To me, the exciting thing about Labor Day weekend, they need to do more on Sunday. They really ought to have more of the headliner games on Sunday because people are off the next day, and that's a holiday. To me, they'll take advantage of that. But to start Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday is just wonderful.
You did mention that Kentucky and Toledo would be interesting, especially now their freshman quarterback Nick Scalzo, who apparently has been a big part of this current Netflix program.
Yeah.
QB1 Beyond the Lights. Looks like he's hurt. He's torn the ACL in the knee.
And that certainly should make it more difficult for them too. But certainly for the SEC fans, your question about can Kentucky exist without Benny Snell Jr. And Josh Allen, who's down here with the Jaguars, that's going to be fascinating to see where that's going to go. And I'll tell you another big game, and I'm going to that game down here too, is Florida State and Boise State.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of your listeners may snicker at that a little bit, but if Florida State, Dave, want to get back on the right track, they've got to win that game. They do not. You remember last year they started off with that Monday night game with Virginia Tech in the first year for Willie Taggart, and basically did not do anything right the whole night. So for their sake, they need to get off the snide and have a much better performance in that game and a much better year.
USA Today, Paul Meyerberg did a story, and he's got Willie Taggart as the 10th hottest of all college football's hot seats. It would be hard for me to believe, because this is just his second year there, right?
Yes. Well, let me explain that a little bit. I get that, and I understand that, but what I've been told is they really don't have the money to buy him out right now. And number two, in fairness to Taggart, Jimbo left a bigger mess at FSU than people realize, or at least until now. And I think now they do understand that. Jimbo said, no, I left in great shape. The truth of the matter is he really didn't, and they're having a rebound from that. Now, I would buy more of the Gus Malzahn being gone at the end of this year if they have another 5-loss season. And people got to remember Gus has lost 25 games in 5 years.
Well, he's
there's nothing elite about that at all.
He's the fifth hottest.
And if they throw up another 8-5, because look, you ask the average Auburn fan about Malzahn, and I've been told this by several beat writers, and they wanted to go on last year, much less this year.
He's the fifth hottest seat.
Yeah. I'm sure Clay Helton's first, right?
Clay's first. Bob Davie at New Mexico, which I'm amazed even came back, is second.
Really?
The Rutgers coach, Chris Ash, is third. Lovie Smith, who's never really got it going at Illinois, is fourth. Then Malzahn, and then Matt Luke. And, is it fair for Matt Luke to be on that list?
When you compare it to some of the others, probably not. I think you've got to to take Matt in consideration for what he's had to overcome.
Right.
Frankly,
but
he
is
needs
that
more time.
But the question is, was that part of the whole grand plan? They couldn't get rid of the guy they wanted when there was all those probationary conditions, and now that those are about to be over,
right?
They can get their guy if Luke doesn't come through. So that makes sense to me.
Yes, and you're right. And the truth of the matter is, Matt would, even if that happened, Dave, Matt would deserve a lot of credit for keeping people sane there and keeping the ship floating during that time. Now, and you probably heard this out when you were there, Clay Helton's on the plank right now. And that's just a matter of time, particularly if...
Look at his schedule.
Yeah. And the other thing is, if Urban is ready to make that move, as many think he is, that would have a lot to do. That, as you just said that about Ole Miss, even more so with Southern Cal, right, Dave? Because if they've already got a verbal agreement behind the scenes with Meyer that he wants to come after being at Fox, which ironically enough he'll be doing it from L.A. If that is going on, that will be even a quicker hook for Clay Helton.
If indeed that is the case. Brent Beard will break down a lot of these games next week. Thank you so much. I know you and we both can't wait.
Listen, brother, I'm excited about this weekend, much less next week. So it's here, and love it, and always good to catch up with you, pal. Take care.
Thank you. That is Brent Beard down in Jacksonville. Our title sponsor for this hour of the program is Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch, the perfect marriage between technology and business and service. Take the product. Take Hyundais or take Genesis. I think now the best of all the luxury cars on the market anywhere. Take those and realize that you get a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty on every one of their new products. My Santa Fe, the Elantra, the Veloster, that G70 that looks like a James Bond car, that Genesis, oh my gosh. It is amazing. 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Then throw in Chris True, he's the GM, and his shopper assurance, which is transparent pricing, flexible test drive, streamlined buying process, in and out when you buy the car, and the best thing, the worry-free exchange. 3 days. If you've got buyer's remorse, you have 3 days to exchange the car. No one can do it like Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch. Back in a minute, Jeff Moore on the National Football League. He's next on Sports Time with Wolo and Stats.
The Peter Edmiston Experience with C.J. Hurt. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10. Only on Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7.
Frontier Western Store's world-famous boot showroom is waiting for you. With aisles and aisles of boots in one easy spot, you will find your next favorite pair at Frontier. Everyone loves Ariat boots, and Frontier has over 1,000 pair in that brand alone. Come grab a pair of rugged work boots like the Work Hog, or discover an everyday classic in Ariat's Rambler. Tons of other brands as well: Rocky, Dan Post, Red Wing, Durango, Justin, Twisted X, and many more. Frontier constantly restocks and refreshes their lineup of boots, so you're certain to walk out of the store happy in your new comfortable footwear. They have a wide assortment of sizes available for men, women, and children. Work, dress, or play, Frontier's knowledgeable staff will cheerfully help you find the perfect fit. It's boots galore at Frontier Western Store, 5880 Goodman Road, Olive Branch, or on the web at frontierwesternstore.com. Family owned and operated, you know it, since 1967.
And now, the worst commercial ever.
I'm just your average, everyday, hard-working plumber. But when it comes to my business, only the best. Like commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive. They help design a customized insurance solution that gets the job done right. Just like me.
An actor trying to sound like a plumber. Excruciating. Whereas commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive is anything but. Visit ProgressiveCommercial.com to quote today. Insurance provided and serviced by Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. It's affiliated and third-party insurers.
You have to be up in 5 hours. 2 hours. 6 minutes, and you haven't slept a wink. ZzzQuil Pure Z's is a drug-free blend of botanicals with an optimal dose of melatonin, so you can fall asleep naturally and wake with no next-day grogginess. So tonight, try new ZzzQuil Pure Z's from the sleep experts at Vicks ZzzQuil.
The Vargas family, legendary Memphis restaurateur, starting with Mr. Charlie and continuing today with his grandchildren.
Brett, it just dawned on me the other day that while Memphis is celebrating its bicentennial, the Rendezvous has been here well over one-third of Memphis's existence. Someone asked me if we remember the day the Rendezvous started, and I tell them no, because if we thought it was going to last this long, we'd have kept much better records. But we're not a place to rest on our laurels or reputation. We're always trying to add new things to make our customers' experience more enjoyable. Friday lunches have always been special because we give away our red beans and rice. But we are now adding a sausage sandwich. It's the same sausage we serve on our cheese and sausage plate, but it will be served lengthwise on the bun with beans and slaw on the side. We've also partnered with a company called Devillet out of Dyersburg to introduce a new sweet glazed mustard with Rendezvous seasoning in it. It will really go great with a sandwich. I still recommend adding slaw. My grandfather had a hot dog stand on Beale Street in 1916, and we've come full circle using his slaw on our hot dogs. Hope to see you this Friday at the Rendezvous.
In the Alley in downtown Memphis.
When's the last time you went to a fish fry? When's the last time you went to a fish fry and it was free? Here's your chance this Thursday beginning at 11 at All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch. Not only will there be free lunch, but you can see and test drive the new 2020 cars and trucks. And did I mention there'll be lots of food, beverages, an ice cream truck, and door prizes. Plus, Greg and I will be broadcasting live beginning at 10. The good folks at All-Star are putting on this to honor our first responders. So come out this Thursday with Sports 56 at All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch.
Now, more of Sports Time with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Welcome back into the Family Leisure Studios. Jeff Moore in the house, celebrating 25 years as an affiliation of this program with either me or with George Lapidus, going back a long, long way. We should point out Brett Norsworthy has the rest of this week off. In the meantime, 2 games now, I guess for 2 teams, 3 games are in the books. And what do you get out of the first 2 weeks? Like, I know we'll see starters for probably a half in game 3, week 3, and then you don't see them again till the regular season.
Yeah.
What do you gather from the first 2 weeks?
So the most important part of the first 2 weeks is really looking at your rookies and your guys that are like second and third year non-starters that are coming back and trying to determine if they're going to be able to make the roster or have young guys kind of step in and play for them or take their places. And then, your starters are just trying to get a little bit of a rhythm with that first drive, second drive. If you've got a guy that's been out injured, you want to get some reps in live play. The biggest difference, Dave, now is that, during the season, guys just rarely have any contact during the week. I mean, the practices are basically almost all walkthroughs for the most part, other than running routes and running plays. But most is not tackling. So the preseason is really important to just have guys get used to getting some contact in again, because what we see and what we've seen over the last few years is you see injuries that first couple of weeks when it really goes live, right, because guys aren't used to first the contact. So that's really important.
Have they made an adjustment in that regard? Because it seems to me now we're seeing more scrimmages. You're going to play a team at the end of the week, but you're going to get 2 scrimmages in the middle of the week with them. Sometimes we see a lot of fights, it seems, because of that. But is that part of that rationale?
Well, to some extent, it's good. You just kind of get, from training camp, you get bored seeing going against your guys every practice sometimes, and it's not live play, but it is good to compete against another guy on another team. But still, those practices aren't live. I mean, there's not live tackling. There's sometimes live blocking and so forth. So really the idea with the combined practices is just to get guys used to going up against another guy other than a teammate.
I was in your neck of the woods for the weekend up by Los Angeles and Santa Barbara, and there was a nice story in the L.A. Times about Darrell Henderson and what a steal he was in the third round. And then that same weekend, here comes the Dallas Cowboys with Pollard, and Pollard really put on a show. But there's one school providing 2 teams in the third and the fourth round with rookie backs that will play this year.
Yeah, and that's always great to see. And, that's one position where I think outside of quarterback is one of the most difficult positions to play, because just about every play a running back is going up against a guy that's bigger than him. If that's a defensive lineman, they're having a block or a linebacker or what have you. So it's a tough transition from the speed and from the standpoint against you going against much stronger, faster guys. And then it's always good to see a young guy get a chance to get an opportunity to play and at least show his coaches what he can do. When you're playing it behind a guy like Zeke Elliott, you're not going to get a lot of carries, but you certainly get a chance to get a feel for what to watch and learn and develop in that way. And, of course, the preseason is a good time for you to show what you can do.
What did you make of the remark by Jerry Jones after the game, Zeke who? I mean, I think he was trying to be funny.
Yeah.
But is there a message being sent to Ezekiel Elliott, who took offense by that remark, even though Jones did try to cover his tracks by saying he was kidding around?
I didn't think much of it, Dave. I think I frankly don't think Zeke thought a lot about it. I mean, if you look at the history of Zeke Elliott with this franchise, there's no guy that's been more in his corner than Jerry Jones, especially with his off the field issues.
Right.
I mean, this guy they've had to get behind him and support him at times when he was not a good face for the franchise. So, he was joking. I think Zeke knew he was joking. His agent knew he was joking. But, they're going to spin it however they can spin it. I don't expect that process to go on much longer. I know they'll get him signed, get him in camp. They need him.
Who caves on this one?
I think they'll find some middle ground. I mean, frankly, I don't think Zeke has the leverage that he thinks he has because of his off the field, again, issues. But the Cowboys need him. I don't think Dak is the same quarterback without Zeke behind him. So and they know that. So they'll get it worked out. They'll get the money right, and he'll get into camp. And typically, he's not going to play during the preseason anyway because of the kind of carries they give him during the season. So he's not really missing a lot in terms of game time. It's always good, especially when you have a new offense installed, to be able to get reps with the ones in practice. But, I mean, he was at the OTAs. So I think they'll get it out. I think it's probably bigger in the media than what it really is.
Pollard's made this team, though, hasn't he?
Yeah. Oh, no question. No question. They're happy about the draft pick. They're happy that they've seen his work ethic and that he's picking up the offense and showing that he's tough. He can run tough between the tackles. That's important.
And Henderson, I'm sure, has made the Rams squad.
Yeah, of course, because Todd is still kind of not 100%, and they're going to need to be able to rotate some guys in there. So, I mean, yeah, it's a great story. It's good to see those guys getting a shot.
And if I could add one more here, Paxton Lynch had his best performance in his NFL career against his old team, the Denver Broncos. And so if he makes that team, I did a quick thing here. I believe there would be 14 Tigers, 14 playing in the NFL now.
That's great, and I expect that number to stay consistent because the kind of offense that the Tigers are now running, I mean, it does translate well to the NFL, and it's great for those guys to be able to get an opportunity to it's all about going to the right team in the right situation when it comes to rookies in the NFL.
Those are all good stories. One last night wasn't so good. Jimmy Garoppolo comes back. He does something it's pretty hard to do. His passer rating was 0.0. He was 1 for 6, 0 yards, 1 interception.
And very easily could have had a second interception that would have been a pick six. He didn't look comfortable in the pocket. I think that's to be expected when a guy has been out because of injury. And with the kind of pass rush that Denver was displaying last night, those guys were playing well and they were getting some penetration. He wasn't getting good blocking. I expect that to be more rust and just him getting comfortable again. Whenever you have that kind of injury as a quarterback, you're a little bit protective. But I expect him to get that worked out as he gets ready for the regular season.
And it was a small sample size. 6 passes was all he threw. What's your sense of what's going on in Indy with Luck?
I think they've got to be smart with him. I was delighted to see him be able to get back and play a full season last year. He is definitely a first-tier quarterback, in my opinion, in this league. And there's no need to rush him back during the preseason. From the reports I've seen, they're very optimistic that they'll have him in the lineup when they get ready to play their first regular season game, and I would not rush him back.
You look around these 2 weeks, anything that at this point, because you're really looking at just rookies, as you mentioned, but is there anything that stands out in your mind?
I don't see anything yet. I mean, I think one has to pay attention to the antics in Oakland with Antonio Brown. I mean, you saw the Steelers practically give him away. You see him missing practice and raising all these issues about a helmet. And certainly, most players that have played understand you're, being sensitive about your equipment, whether it's shoulder pad or helmet. I'm hoping they get that worked out. I mean, the Raiders really need his assets, his speed, his ability to make plays, to have an opportunity to advance that offense. But he is, he's a diva, and I heard Mike Mayock last week kind of give him an ultimatum, which was good. And he seems to be trying to toe the line. I saw today that he practiced with an approved helmet,
certified
helmet.
And apparently, I think Gruden made the remark he's all in.
Yeah. So I'm hoping, but again, this guy. I mean, anything could set this guy off, and that's the concern because he's such a great talent. I just hate to see him kind of really not understanding that he needs the NFL more than the NFL needs him. I hope he'll settle down and kind of get out of the news and just play football. He's a great talent.
Speaking of controversy, and I'm a little surprised because I think Baker Mayfield is pretty sharp guy, right? He was quoted in GQ as saying, "It blows my mind how some people overthink it. That's where people go wrong. They forget you've got to win." This was in reference to the New York Giants' decision to draft quarterback Daniel Jones, who was 17-19 at Duke before the Giants made him the number 6 overall pick. The first game he played really well. Your sense of why now Mayfield is saying they took that thing out of context. I was talking about being surprised in my own sense because I didn't think I would be taken first overall. But when you talk like, you overthink it, you got to look at wins. It sure does seem like he's taking a shot at the Giants.
Yeah, I'm more inclined to go with Baker's take on what happened there. I've seen instances where quotes get taken out of context. Baker Mayfield seems to be the type of guy that just is all in when it comes to playing and leaving it all on the field, and not a guy that's gonna give you locker room material as far as that goes. So I don't put a lot into that statement other than I think his take that it was more a reference to himself.
Giants haven't lost a game yet. So that'll be fun. Cleveland has not lost a game yet. Did you ever look at these things? The Bears haven't won a game. Cowboys are 1-1. Titans are 1-1. Did you ever look at these things and have a correlation with what you think is going to happen in the regular season?
I think there's absolutely zero correlation because your starters only play for maybe a couple of series, and so you're seeing guys out there that are playing. You're seeing plays that are happening that are just not going to be happening in the regular season, and it makes a big difference when your starters are out there for series after series, offensively and defensively. I've never been able to see where a team that went undefeated during the preseason had a big year in the regular season, or a team that lost every game that was necessarily indicative of them losing a lot of games during the regular season. There's just no correlation as far as I'm concerned. But the joy for me in watching preseason games is the season has started again, something I anticipate all year long. And I get to see these young guys who have been just really waiting to get an opportunity to show their wares, get a chance to play in this live. And you see how they could translate because the speed, the strength of the players, the strategies is so different than college. And so it's great to see those guys make the transition and be effective.
I think Baltimore has, they got a winning streak going, 14 games or something like that, the Ravens?
In the preseason?
Yeah. And exhibition games.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Harbaugh said something to the effect, we like winning or something, and that sets the culture. But I'm like you. I have never felt there was a really great correlation between wins and losses in these exhibition games and then what happens when your starters play 100 snaps.
Yeah. Yeah, now I think it is significant when you've got a guy that's been out like Garoppolo, Jimmy G, that we talked about earlier, how sharp they look when they come in.
Well, for Andrew Luck now, that'll be in the regular season, if he can even play in the regular season.
But again, he's got a great sample size. Well, we know what he can do. Yeah, so there's no doubt. We still don't know what Jimmy G can do. I mean, he looked like he may be the answer for about 7-8 games last year, and then he was gone. Outside of that, he's just been the backup.
Wait. What I believe in him is that it looked to me like Bill Belichick wanted to keep him.
Absolutely. He did.
He looked good in that uniform. He looked good till he got hurt here. But he didn't look so good last night. I saw the highlights.
What a lot of players don't realize is their play is really dictated to a large extent by their performance, but your teammates. I mean, a guy who's great in New England with what he has surrounding him there goes to a team like San Francisco. You don't have the offensive line. You don't have the receivers. Your performance can go down. So, I mean, we'll just have to see But I do anticipate he'll play better.
I agree. I hope my Bears play better.
Yeah, your Bears going to be fine. I mean, that defense.
You got a kicker now. That seems to be all anybody wrote anything about him.
That's important. But that defense, man, is stellar. And I do, and your quarterback, I think, is going to take another step. Trubisky, they've got some help out at wide receiver. I mean, I think that's the team to beat as far as I'm concerned in the NFC North.
And that will be the opening game, the Bears and the Packers. And
Wow.
I've seen some great promos.
Wow.
Because it is the beginning of the 100th year.
Absolutely. And that's one of the oldest, if not the oldest, rivalry.
It is the oldest rivalry
Man, that's
in
great.
the National Football League.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. And so, I look forward to seeing the Bears defense be dominant again this year, the way they were last year.
I do too. Any other team that you're really looking forward to seeing? I look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, and no AB and no Le'Veon Bell, and will that subtraction actually be addition?
I think so.
For Mike Tomlin and Randy Fichtner, the offensive coordinator.
I think to a large extent it will be, Dave, but, Antonio Brown is a great talent. I mean, that guy is unbelievable, the way he catches when he's covered, the way Ben would throw him open. So they're going to miss him. They went through a season being effective without Le'Veon Bell. But the team I'm looking forward to watching is Kansas City. I mean, I think those guys are ready to take it up another notch, play a little bit better defensively. This offense is going to be tough to stop. I think that's the team to watch in the AFC.
Will Patrick Mahomes become the next superstar quarterback?
Oh, he already is.
You think he's there already?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, he's the MVP.
I don't disagree with that, but
yeah, he was MVP last year.
But you got to see him do it. Really to cement it for a couple of years, to put him in a class that is different than a guy that had a good year or two.
Well, see, here the thing about him is that, not only did he play great last year, but he does have another year of being in the game and maturing and watching and learning what defenses are trying to do. So he's wiser as a quarterback this year too.
We'll see. Can't wait. Getting closer.
Absolutely.
As always, we appreciate it. That is Jeff Moore on the National Football League. Coming up at 5 o'clock, we'll do a little bit more of this. Bo Marchant from collegetopro.com will join us. We'll take a quick timeout. When we come back, we will wrap up the hour. This portion of the program brought to you by the Eflin Insurance Group in Bartlett, Tennessee, but there's offices throughout the city, and they're easy to find. You call 757-2315. Matt is a young guy, but he's got 20 years of experience already in this local market, and he specializes in all type of insurance needs. It could be personal. It can be business. He takes care of you. Wants everybody to know he's a proud supporter of the U of M, and he does things a little different. He tries to have a one-on-one approach to evaluate each individual's insurance needs. Once he's established what your needs are, then he finds you the best way that he can serve you, and he does an unbelievable job. You want a quote, and you want that personalized service, get a hold of Matt Eflin. That's the Eflin Insurance Group in Bartlett, 757-2315. Back in a minute to put a wrap on this second hour of Sports Time with Wolo and Stats.
Sports 56 now has 2 FM homes. You can now find real sports talk on 96.1 as well as 87.7 on your FM dial.
You have to be up in 5 hours. 2 hours. 6 minutes, and you haven't slept a wink. ZzzQuil Pure Z's is a drug-free blend of botanicals with an optimal dose of melatonin, so you can fall asleep naturally and wake with no next-day grogginess. So tonight, try new ZzzQuil Pure Z's from the sleep experts at Vicks ZzzQuil.
If you've always thought, hey, I'd look pretty good in Lexus, well, guess what? Lexus thinks so, too. Lexus is offering you the Golden Opportunity Sales Event. Great offers on all 2019 models and special lease options. Drive in luxury and confidence, knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by Lexus of Memphis, 2600 Ridgeway, and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2019 flagship LS500. Hey, you look pretty good there. Lexus Golden Opportunity Sales Event at Lexus of Memphis. Experience amazing.
And now, the worst commercial ever.
I'm just your average, everyday, hard-working plumber. But when it comes to my business, only the best, like commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive. They help design a customized insurance solution that gets the job done right, just like me.
An actor trying to sound like a plumber. Excruciating. Whereas commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive is anything but. Visit progressivecommercial.com to quote today. Insurance provided and serviced by Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, its affiliated and third-party insurers.
Now, more of Sports Time with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
When I shave with Harry's. A lot of guys buy disposable razors when they travel. This summer, don't do that. You don't have to sacrifice quality for price. Harry's delivers high-quality, travel-friendly shave supplies at a great low price, just $2 per cartridge. Join the 10 million who have tried Harry's. Get a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and travel cover for just $3 plus free shipping. Use offer code STATS at harrys.com. Again, you get the weighted handle, 5-blade razor, shave gel, and travel cover, all for just $3. This summer, Harry's has a special offer for listeners of this show. New customers get $5 off a trial set from Harry's with offer code STATS at harrys.com. That means you get a razor, weighted handle, foaming shave gel, and the travel cover, all for just $3 plus free shipping when you use code STATS at harrys.com. And when you run out, remember, Harry's replacement cartridges are just $2 each. And if you prefer to shop in a store, Harry's razors are also available at Walmart and Target. When you shave, you need to shave with Harry's and visit harrys.com.
Welcome back in. There is a bad story coming out of Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic today. Authorities there have arrested former Major League pitcher Octavio Detel and cited infielder Luis Castillo for their alleged links to a drug trafficking and money laundering ring.
That don't sound good.
Terrible. The Dominican Attorney General Jean-Alain Rodriguez said police are also actively pursuing the alleged leader of the ring, a guy named Cesar Emilio Perotto, also known as Caesar the Abuser. Castillo, not the current Cincinnati Reds pitcher, has not yet been arrested. 18 other people are linked to this network, including athletes and baseball players Detel and Castillo. Called it the most important drug trafficking structure in the region. Wow. He said Peralta created a complicated system of companies to hide the origins of his assets using members of his family and social circles, including 2 sports figures we know in the Dominican Republic.
Man.
Castillo, a 3-time All-Star, 3 Gold Gloves, a member of the 2003 Florida Marlin teams that won the World Series. No immediate comment yet from Detel, who set a record at the time. He played on more MLB teams than any other player. The teams were the Tigers, the Cardinals, the Blue Jays, the Rockies, the Dodgers, the Pirates, the White Sox, the Braves, the Royals, the Yankees, the A's, the Astros, and the Mets. How many teams is that?
13.
13 out of 30 teams.
It's not that many. I mean, didn't even get to half. But
what? Nobody's played on more teams than that.
I'm sure somebody will get to the 15 mark, but Caesar the Abuser, I don't think you get that nickname for being a nice guy, a nice drug lord.
No.
Sounds like a bad person to be mixed in with.
Whew. This is all those people involved. Wow. Detel. Who would have thunk it? Man. That's 2 hours in the books, and we come back more on the NFL. We got week 3 coming up. Monday Night Football last night. Joe, you like Joe Tessitore better now without Jason Witten?
I like Joe Tessitore decent enough last year. My opinion of him didn't change, but I have so much more respect for Booger. He did a phenomenal job yesterday. He went from being good to great. I loved him.
Really?
Yes.
I watched about 20 minutes of it. I would say to you, I think he is better in this role than he was on that contraption going across the sidelines, whatever.
Well, he's not getting motion sickness now.
No. Is that what it was? He was getting motion
Probably.
sickness?
That's what if I had to guess.
That's 2 hours in the books. This portion of the show brought to you by Memphis Public Links. That's the city golf courses where you get better play every day. That's their slogan. I like to say better play every day for everyone, especially juniors. All junior golfers 17 and under. I think you've heard me say this before, but it's true. Free green fees, all except Galloway. That's Monday through Friday after 12 p.m. And then on weekends and holidays is when it's after 12 p.m. Monday through Friday, you can play for free if you're 17 and under at all those courses. Even family golf at the links at Galloway. That's Saturday afternoon after 12. You bring a kid, they play for free. Adults only pay $25 if you bring a youngster. There's free golf clinics every day at the links at Whitehaven, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then at Thursday. Same thing, 4:30 to 6:30, but this time at Pine Hill. They are invested in junior golf. Women's golf, they've got clinics every Wednesday at 3:30. Please, go check them out. I just passed by Galloway today. It's in my hood, as you say. It is, I don't know if there's any country club in better condition than the way Galloway looks from Walnut Grove. I'm serious. It is outstanding. Go check it out. Memphis Public Links, better play every day for everyone. Back in a minute. This is Sports Time with Wolo and Stats.
Hi, this is John Conway with Conway Services. Have you ever noticed your air conditioning system never breaks down at a good time? We know at Conway Services the timing's not always right to replace your air conditioning systems. That's why we have financing options available. Right now, during the dog days of summer, get your new Carrier air conditioning system for as low as $99 per month. That's right, Conway Services has new Carrier air conditioning systems as low as $99 per month. Now, you could do that. Plus, your new air conditioning system comes with a 10-year parts warranty, a free Nest thermostat, and with Conway Services, you'll be receiving our award-winning service every time. So call Conway Services, the Mid-South's premier heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric service company at 384-3511. That's 384-3511, and the first 30 callers with a 10-year-old air conditioning system will come out and inspect it absolutely free.
Call 384-3511. Conway Services. Call Conway today.
Let's say you just bought a house. Bad news is, you're one step closer to becoming your parents. Soon you'll have a separate fridge in the basement where extra groceries are exiled forever. Remember that frozen lasagna? Of course you don't. It's been down there since 2008. Good news is, it's easy to bundle home and auto through Progressive and save on your car insurance. Piece of cake. Behind the lasagna, it's very old. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
We should come to Sweetgrass for brunch every Sunday.
We do come to Sweetgrass for brunch every Sunday.
Right, well, we should keep doing this. These biscuits and gravy are the best I've ever had. I could have them for breakfast every day.
Look at these perfect poached eggs on top of crab cakes. Only a real chef would think of making this.
I'm almost to the point of making the turn. I've had everything on the Sweetgrass brunch menu, and I'm going to start back at the beginning.
It's important to have goals.
Why would we go anywhere else?
We don't go anywhere else. Last night you refilled everyone's water.
Well, I just wanted to make sure they knew we were part of the Sweetgrass family.
DeSoto Auto Sales specializes in late model cars with low mileage. They have the highest standards in the car industry. All of their cars are test driven, checked out from head to toe, unlimited inventory, every make and model. And if it's not on the lot, they'll find it for you. Walk in the door of DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Within 45 minutes, you can test your car, get credit approval, and finish paperwork within an hour. No shortcuts at DeSoto Auto Sales. Kind, courteous employees, a down-home environment. DeSoto Auto Sales cares about your time. Lowest prices in a 350-mile radius. We're living in a world today where time does matter. Visit them online. Check out their referrals. DeSotoAutosales.com. Very proud to serve DeSoto County and other surrounding areas. DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Call 662-890-7184. 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto Auto Sales.
Down in Mississippi, where I grew up, we had a quaint way of describing a beginning courtship. John is going with Mary. Pretty descriptive, right? Going where? I really don't know. A friend told me that for about 3 years he had intentionally sought the meaning of love. He talked about it with preachers and philosophers, with the educated and uneducated. The most helpful definition came from a workman in a furniture factory. Love is awareness, the fellow said. That became a key for exciting living for my friend and has turned him into one of the most sensitive, alive, and affirming husbands that I know. That's not everything love is, but love is that, awareness. Some of the loneliest persons are married couples. They have nice homes, good jobs, money, family, everything, but they are out of touch with each other. Love means relationship. Relationship requires awareness. I'm Shane Stanford from Christchurch, Memphis. You matter.
Visit ChristchurchMemphis.org.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM, 96.1, and 87.7 FM, as well as online around the world at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere on your phone or tablet by downloading the Sports 56 app, and at home, tell Alexa or Google to play Sports 56. If it's happening in the world of sports, we've got it covered. Wherever you are, stay tuned to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7. We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Welcome back to Sports Time with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Wolosian and Brad Norsworthy.
This hour brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. And at DeSoto Auto Sales, they specialize in late model cars with low mileage, high standards in the car industry. All the cars at DeSoto Auto Sales test driven and checked out from head to toe, bumper to bumper, unlimited inventory, every make, every model. And at DeSoto Auto Sales, if it's not on the lot, they will find it for you. No shortcuts at DeSoto Auto Sales and no high-pressure sales tactics. Laid-back atmosphere, you're treated like family, kind, courteous employees down at DeSoto Auto Sales in DeSoto County. The ultimate car experience. They know time is important, and they will get you in and out, test your car, credit approved in 45 minutes. We're living in a world today that time matters, and they know that. Check out the referrals at DeSotoAutosales.com. Very proud to serve DeSoto County and the surrounding area. 5704 Goodman Road, 662-890-7184. Again, DeSotoAutosales.com. Come on down to DeSoto County to DeSoto Auto Sales on Goodman Road.
And a welcome back in for hour number 3 of the program. You just heard Brett. He is off this week. He'll be back on Monday. And, of course, that'll be prediction week and showdown week. And I can't wait for Memphis and Ole Miss. A week from Saturday, we do have college football coming up for real on Saturday. We've got week 3 of the National Football League exhibition season where you actually get to see the starters for about a half of a game. You get a little better sense of what's going on. And we love on the every week in this time slot to talk with our friend from collegetopro.com. That would be Bo Marchand, who joins us now. And I'm ready. I'm getting there. We're closing in on stuff that is for real. What I asked this a little while ago to another fellow. We were talking about the National Football League. What have you learned so far in the first couple of weeks?
I think. Well, I hope Jimmy Garoppolo looks better. I know you can't make too much of 1 or 2 series, but I start kind of delving into a little bit more, about him and kind of looking at numbers and just injuries and whatnot. So this is a very important time for Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers. They do have a potential out clause next season, so they could have a dead cap space of about $4.5 million, which is considerably light. So this almost is an audition season for Jimmy Garoppolo. I know we talk, a lot, or at least the presumption is, Jimmy Garoppolo franchise for a long time, and that could be. I don't want to erase his career in San Francisco after a bad performance in a preseason game, but nonetheless, when you look at his injury history, he had the starts when Brady was suspended. He lasted 2 games before Jacoby Brissett had to come in, and then last season he lasted 3 games before the ACL went. So. I think this is an important year for Garoppolo and the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, that whole crew. Sometimes there's some rumblings between Lynch and Shanahan. There might be some disagreements. So I think there's a lot riding in San Francisco. So after last night's performance and after I dug into it a little deeper, I think Jimmy Garoppolo right now and just that whole 49ers outlook moving forward and how this season may go, a lot depends on, are the 49ers a team looking for a quarterback next season? And I know that's kind of bizarre.
I know it. And I had forgotten kind of that he had gotten injured while he was in New England. So is he a little like Marcus Mariota, where you've got to see a season where the guy doesn't get hurt?
Dave, I think you do have to kind of put that under the microscope where, this kid was supposed to play, and then, back in 16, he has the sprained shoulder, the AC joint goes on him. And then this past September in 2018, the knee goes. So, yeah, I mean, until you can put that season together where you consider yourself a durable product on the field, I think you have to be, a little concerned. And, that was after, again, last night it was just kind of an eye-popping moment for me when I'm like, you know what, there's more to this than I've actually really kind of, realized. And, you brought up a great guy in Marcus Mariota, fantastic player, ton of potential, but, to be a star quarterback, to have that long-lasting effect on a franchise, you have to stay healthy. And, all the great ones have done it. You might have a miscue season by Brady with the ACL, but, he's, Mr. Longevity. I mean, you look at Dan Marino and Elway and all the greats, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, these guys have the longevity. They miss very few games. Eli Manning put in that category. So, Jimmy Garoppolo has a good uphill climb, if we put it that way.
So while it's pretty obvious you couldn't have a worse return game than Garoppolo with a 0.0 quarterback rating, Drew Lock was looking good until he got hurt in that game.
He was looking good. And for a long time, Drew Lock was the pre-anointed number one quarterback. When you looked at like the Blesto grades and all that stuff from last year, he was kind of like that number one quarterback. And time again, there's always that quarterback from the back of the pack that kind of come up and sneaks on everybody. Cam Newton was that guy. Colin Murray was that guy last year. Baker Mayfield the year before. They're on the radar, but they're never in that top echelon, but they rise to that occasion. For the longest time, Drew Lock was the guy. He was the number one senior, the number one quarterback prospect. Still, ton of potential. Got to shake that Missouri label. Blaine Gabbert, I hate to go on history, but, such a failure, I think, with the 11th pick when he was taken by the Jags. But, he looked good. And the Broncos are a work in progress. We know this. Vic Fangio should have that defense. They looked very, very good last night. Offensively, you just got to hope that everything comes in back. And I love the addition of Joe Flacco. I still think there's a lot left in him. I don't think he's washed up by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know if his best years are ahead of him, but I think he'd be a servable, capable quarterback. So, they got some pieces in Denver. It's probably still going to be fighting to be ahead of the Oakland Raiders in the AFC West. But, it's a long season, but at least they have some pieces.
What about Paxton Lynch's tenure through 2 weeks now in Seattle?
I was watching that game the other night. And I'm not at Seattle's camp, so I don't know what every single day looks like. But, I was super high on Paxton Lynch coming out. I was so excited, especially him going to Denver. I thought it would be a great fit. I wasn't impressed the other night, and I know he got the hit that the guy got ejected and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, Dave, I just I don't see the kid that just kind of has that moxie to be an everyday passer, and I thought he did. He never was able to materialize. And when you looked back at his progress when he arrived in Denver, it was really hard for him to even get off that back depth chart. He never even was kind of even in the running to be the starter. He was kind of always in the back. So that just shows just never materialized once it got to this next level. Career backup. Who knows if he even, makes the roster. I know Seattle is kind of a team that, is willing to kind of bring guys in and, regardless of where they're drafted or what their potential or, what the results was from their draft grade, they kind of, they'll take a deeper look. But at the end of the day, I don't know if Pete Carroll and that staff can kind of bring him up to speed. So, I don't know. You just put it this way. If he remains in Seattle, just cross your fingers Russell Wilson doesn't get hurt.
He did look good, Paxton did, in game one. He did not look as good, obviously, in game two. He gets a half in this next game, maybe, and then is the fourth game the decider? Or do you think because he's listed as 2 now?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I don't think the fourth game will matter. You know, I mean, and I think every position, to a certain extent, everyone. How can I put it? The teams kind of maybe have their minds made, especially at that position. I mean, if he's going to remain the number 2, then he'll be the number 2. I don't think he can deter himself from that. But again, I don't have a lot of faith in the upside and what I've seen. And then from what I've seen of him in the past, I mean, I don't ever remember a moment where I'm like, wow, you know, he looked fantastic at that point. You know, I think sometimes we get lost in it. I mean, like, you know, I always think back to the first preseason game with Jared Goff and Dak Prescott when they faced each other, and Dak just looked fantastic, and Jared Goff looked awful. But he improved. He started to grow. I haven't seen that in Paxton, and I think I had Paxton as my number 1 quarterback the year he came out. So I'm a Paxton Lynch guy. Maybe I was burnt too hard by Paxton Lynch, and I resent it now. But at the end of the day, I mean, I loved him coming out of Memphis. I thought the intangibles there. I loved the coaching that he received. I just thought it would all be a perfect fit for him to be a serviceable, prominent quarterback in the National Football League, but just never materialized.
2 running backs have had a pretty good first couple of weeks in Henderson, and in particular Pollard with the Cowboys, who's getting a bunch of snaps thanks to Ezekiel Elliott's absence. What's the latest you're hearing with after Jerry Jones' flippant remark about the Cowboys and Zeke?
Well, I can tell you a couple things. I mean, basically what I read or what we see on television is as much as I know about Darrell Henderson. I know about him as a draft prospect, and I loved him coming out of Memphis. Like, I think I had him 3, out of the backs. I thought he had a great skill set. In terms of Pollard, I do have a couple guys that are down in Dallas every day, and we kind of shoot text back and forth. They rave about Pollard. They said he's looked fantastic, and so I do think that gives Dallas a little bit of hope that if something doesn't materialize with them and Ezekiel Elliott, that they will have a serviceable guy, a guy that can be productive behind that offensive line in Dallas. So I've been hearing very good things about Pollard. I haven't heard anything negative about Henderson, but I actually have some eyes and ears in Dallas where I can get a much better pulse of what Tony Pollard's been doing. And both these guys. I mean, you think about that combination what the Tigers had last year. I mean, it was kind of phenomenal. And to think that I thought, 3rd and 4th round picks, in the draft, it just kind of shows you how dominant they were to have 2 running backs drafted out of the same class.
All right, give us the latest on what you think is happening with the Raiders and Antonio Brown. He finally wore a certified helmet. Is this story going to come to an end now?
Dave, I hope it does. There's nothing that makes me cringe when I just kind of see these guys doing the things that they do. I thought it was over, when this grievance was won, but then they kind of ruled against it. I loved how Mike Mayock finally came out and kind of said, you're either all out or you're all in. It's kind of a push kind of shove thing. And I think the tolerance level, he's exhausted that in Oakland. And at this point, and I'm not best buddies with Mike Mayock, but I've been around him. I've spent time around him enough to call him a friend, I would assume. Mike is all about character and the quality of character. I mean, he wants you to be a great football player, but in my opinion, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I just think he loves the quality of a man when they're on that team. And, some of the guys, and I think most people out there listening, you might feel the same. I mean, I think we all know that this is John Gruden's team. It's not Mike Mayock, the general manager's team. Gruden's brought in Brown. If you couldn't do more crazy things at his exit out of Pittsburgh, I don't know. You bring in Richie Incognito. You bring in Vontez Burfict. I mean, Burfict and Brown have a bad history from the hit in Cincinnati. So he's bringing in guys that I wouldn't really think that they're Mike Mayock men. So I was glad to see him kind of step up to the podium and say, hey, Antonio, listen, we want you to be a great player here in Oakland. When we move to, Las Vegas, we want you to be that same guy, but you got to give us something here. You got to start practicing. I mean, so I was glad. I don't know how this is going to unfold. If I had to bet, I would say it doesn't turn out well. I just think you have too many crazy minds in that locker room, and I don't know who's ever going to kind of be able to take that lead in that locker room. Derek Carr is a young guy, but I don't know if he really, Antonio Brown, when you think of, and just because I was there, I mean, when you think of a guy like Ben Roethlisberger, franchise quarterback, 2-time Super Bowl winner, when you're willing to kind of go after him, and he's a franchise favorite. The Steelers are going to back Ben. That Derek Carr's kind of almost on the outs. I mean, was he even going to be the starter going into the draft? I mean, were they going to take another quarterback? Were they going to move up for Kyler Murray? So I think Antonio Brown already knows that if he wants to sink his teeth into Derek Carr, he can. So I think it's going to be an entertaining year for the Oakland Raiders, but I think it's going to be more of this crazy stuff because we've already seen what's happened so far, and it's not even week one.
Tell me, how did this Mayock-Gruden marriage occur? And we all know Gruden's in charge. He's the one that brought Mayock in, and yet he then did deals that were not with Mayock type of guys. I don't get that whole attraction.
I don't either. And I don't want to speak for Mike Mayock because I really don't know, and maybe he really wants these guys. I don't know. I'm just, if I spend enough time around you, I'd pick up on maybe what you like, you don't like, what you feel about certain things. So it's like, just common sense. It would strike you as strange if it goes the other way. Maybe Gruden didn't want a long-time football mind. Maybe he didn't want like a David Gettleman in there. Maybe he wanted a guy that, Mike wants his job. It's somebody that he can kind of still be in control, but, has faith in. Obviously Mike's a fantastic draft analyst, knows the game, played the game. So it's not like he's just bringing somebody in off the street. Maybe that was it, because I never saw a correlation before. I mean, he was NFL Network, Gruden was ESPN. So, I don't think there would have been, that bond where, hey, these guys are working together. They picked up on these things. But at the end of the day, he's there. And, for anyone out there, I mean, I still love Mayock. I think he's just a plentiful basket of football knowledge, especially when it comes around draft time. And, hopefully he can have a little bit more of his own, I guess, fingerprints on this roster as we move forward in Oakland, because I think he has a good eye and he definitely puts character first. And I don't know if we'll see that in the future picks, but I mean, I think for a good locker room, a healthy locker room, you're going to want that.
I don't think you can ever really tell a whole lot from the first 2 weeks of exhibition football. You might not be able to tell anything the whole exhibition preseason, except for maybe the first half of the third game, when they let these starters get a little bit of contact and a feel for the game. But do you have any team so far that you've watched that is better than you may have thought they would be, or worse than you thought they would be?
Yeah. It's hard for me to say just because it is preseason. And plus, 2 of the weeks, I was in Pittsburgh watching them. But whatever I've been able to pick up on NFL Network or the other, the games that were on other nights. So I'm kind of stuck. I don't really have a lot to go on. I guess the team that I saw 2 weeks were, the Steelers. I still want to see how that offense works with Ben in it. To be honest with you, as much as Antonio Brown was a nuisance to the team, I don't think you can hide the fact that he was the ultimate guy to have out there to cause freedom for everybody else. I mean, can Juju Smith-Schuster be that guy without Antonio Brown opposite of him? Can everyone else operate with success without 84? I mean, that's my big question. So, I guess covering the team, that's, this week 3, I think they're in Tennessee. That's going to be the big thing to think about is, Ben and this offense finally working together, what they're going to look like. We know at the end of last season when they played the Bengals and Brown wasn't there, it was a kind of a stymied offense. It didn't really have a lot of get-go in it. They kind of fought to put the points on the board. And granted, that's a, division matchup. You can't say, just because they didn't put up 45 points, it's all Antonio Brown. But at the end of the day, just from what I've seen, I guess I got to think, the Steelers without AB, how that offense is going to work.
I think the Cowboys did a deal today, didn't they? They signed a piece on the defensive side with linebacker Jalen Smith agreeing to a 5-year, $65 million deal, $35.5 million guaranteed. So they have stalled talks with Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper, but now they got Jalen Smith. Would you have put him up as the guy that you would have been the first to fall in this deal?
I would have never put him at the top. He may be deserving of it. It's a great story. I mean, we all know, Notre Dame, freak, Then he has an ACL tear, and, it looks like, is he even going to play again, be the guy he was? And, the Cowboys get a steal in the second round, so I applaud that move. It was a gutsy call. But you bring up a great point when you look at all the other guys that kind of, are begging for that money, especially on the offensive identity of, what the Cowboys want to have in terms of the second, group of triplets. That's a tricky one. But, Leighton Vander Esch, Jalen Smith, they are the key blocks to that linebacking core. Probably have one of the best linebacking cores in football when those two are going. So, it's a shock. But, I think back to Aaron Donald when Los Angeles was, spending money left and right, bringing big free agents and signing all these guys. And you kept wondering, when are they going to pay Aaron Donald? When are they going to pay Aaron Donald? And I remember each week last year, it just seemed like they were spending more and more money on all these different guys, big type money. And they're like, how are they ever going to get this done? So they know they want Zeke back. It was kind of a shock, and they want Dak back. I assume they traded a number 1 pick for Amari Cooper, and they want him back. So they have to have a plan. It just we just don't know it yet, Dave.
All right, easy question for the end. Who's the worst team in the NFL?
The Miami Dolphins.
Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I think they're going to be I have no faith in Josh Rosen. I like Brian Flores as a coach. I do think this is a team in transition, so this is nothing taken away from him and what his future can be in Miami. But I think talent-wise, I don't look at a team with much talent. And, again, it starts at the quarterback position, and it kind of trickles down from that. And both sides of the football, I just think this is a team in a rebuilding mode. And, I would be shocked next year when we're talking NFL draft if the Dolphins don't hold, the 1, 2, or 3 overall selection in the draft.
And anything change your mind about who the best team is so far?
You know what? I'm so glad you brought this up because I'm reading this. I'm doing all this stuff. There's that team in Massachusetts that plays Gillette Stadium.
Yeah.
And the only thing, they have zero issues. The only thing is you could probably say, what are they going to be out like with Gronk? But they've proven as long as Brady and Belichick are there, it doesn't matter who's in, who's out. They're a machine that doesn't stop. So it's just kind of ironic that the best team in the National Football League basically has zero issues, zero drama. And again, that might go back to having things in control in the locker room where everybody's on the same page.
Oh, and by the way, Edelman is back, right? He passed the physical?
Yeah, and Edelman's back. So more fun for them.
Yep, they're good. They are good. No doubt about it.
As
always, my friend, we're going to get closer and closer to the Bears and the Packers kicking it off for real in about a week and a half or two. So
I can't. I'm glad you're back because now the Bears are back. It'll be fun talking you through the season, and as your Bears kind of keep going.
Are the Bears back the way they've looked in this preseason? Well, the good news is they finally cut a kicker. So now I'm not going to have to only read about kickers from here on out.
Well, Eddie Pinero's the guy right now, but I guarantee that scouting department is looking at the waiver wire, and when cutdowns come, you never know, they could still reach out and try to bring another guy in. So
he is Beau Marchant from collegetopro.com. We'll do it again, same time next week. Thank you, my friend. That is Beau. I think we kind of lost him there at the end. That was a little strange. This portion of the show brought to you by Soulfish. Soulfish Cafe. A couple of things about Soulfish. First off, the new one's open. They've got their fourth in the Memphis area. They got one in Little Rock. They've had that for a few years. They got one in Oxford. That's been open for a little while now. And now they've got their fourth at Wolf Chase. So if you want the best catfish, you guys voted that every year so far. You want the best seafood. That was last year. Best catfish and seafood and soul food. Best veggies. All three categories, best of. And now there's 4 places in Memphis to get them. The original in Cooper Young. The second one was the Shops of Forest Hill Irene. That's in Germantown on the Collierville border. Then they went to my neck of the woods, my neighborhood in East Memphis, on Poplar, east of Perkins in the old Wolf Cameron location, now in the Wolf Chase area on 64. 4 of them. 3 best categories, 4 places to go. You can't beat it if you want veggies, if you want seafood, if you want catfish. The best place to go is Soul Fish Cafe. Back in a minute, we'll turn our attention a little bit to college football and what's coming up in the bowls and the business of the game. That's with the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. Head honcho Big Cheese, Steve Earhart. He's next on Sports Time with Wolo and Stats.
Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy get you through the midday with Sports 56 Middays. Delivered by FedEx. Weekdays from 10 till 1 on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
Hey, everybody. Want to save some money on a brand new Chevy and get a full belly and for a good cause? Well, come out to All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch Thursday, August 22nd from 11 to 1 to honor all first responders. They're going to have a big fish fry and a whole lot more with food, beverages, door prizes, and an ice cream truck. So if you're a first responder or appreciate our first responders, come out to All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch on the 22nd and have lunch on us. And while you're out there, test drive as many new Chevys as you want, like the new 2020 Silverado. It's here. And the 2020 Chevy Blazer. And also ask about the 2020 Corvette. And not just that, the All-Star Chevy Challenge is just one more reason to head to Olive Branch for that all-new Chevy. Just take them any real written offer from any Mid-South Chevy dealer and they'll beat it. So find new roads to Olive Branch and don't miss lunch on us at All-Star Chevy on August 22nd. Remember, it's Olive Branch, not South Haven, people. All-Star Chevrolet on Goodman Road or go to allstarautogroup.com.
Your Memphis Tigers football team opens the 2019 season against regional rival Ole Miss Saturday, August 31st. And tickets are on sale now, starting at $55 each. Get your tickets today by visiting GoTigersGo.com or by calling 901-678-2331. Or Tiger fans can still grab a 3-game package or a season ticket. College football is finally back. Memphis versus Ole Miss, Saturday, August 31st at 11 a.m. at Liberty Bowl Memorial Stadium. Sponsored by FedEx and ABC Local 24.
Family Leisure is celebrating the end of summer with the appropriately titled End of Summer Liquidation Sale. You can get pools for as low as $19.99, patio furniture starting at $12.99, and swim spas, they begin at $99.99. Don't forget to ask about fast installation because there's still enough summer left to enjoy these deals during the End of Summer Liquidation Sale happening now at Family Leisure. Family Leisure, Whitten Road and I-40, where family and fun come together.
Gun enthusiasts in the Mid-South know all about guns and ammo at 3615 Summer and 577 Goodman Road, Suite 4 at the corner of Goodman and Elmore in South Haven because they carry the largest selection of both guns and ammo in the area. They are authorized dealers of Colt, Benelli, CZ, Smith & Wesson, Glock, Ruger, Sig Sauer, Vergara, and a lot more. If you or someone you know is looking for something for self-defense, competition, hunting, or just something that goes boom, then get to Guns and Ammo, 3615 Summer in Memphis and 577 Goodman Road, Suite 4 at the corner of Goodman and Elmore in South Haven.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129.
Hey, Tiger fans, this is John Stacy of the Blue and Gray Show. You can hear Drew Barrett and I talk Tigers with Tigers every Sunday at 5 right here on Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7. Drew, who do we got in the studio with us this week?
This week, it's a U of M QB special with Lloyd Patterson and Danny Spartman in studio with John. We'll also have Danny Wimprine and Tony Scarpino on the phone. This is one you won't want to miss.
Thanks, Drew. We'll be here Sunday on Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7. The Blue and Gray Show, where we talk Tigers with Tigers.
Welcome back to Sports Time with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales.
Here once again
are Dave Wolosian and Brad Norsworthy.
Welcome back in. Wolo with you. Stats off until next Monday. We are cruising through our final hour, and you know we talk the business of college football and the bowls with our friend from the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, the head honcho, the Big Cheese, and that would be Steve Earhart, who joins us now. And I got to ask you this because I was away this weekend and sort of away from the world a little bit, and I just realized as I'm playing catch-up here that Jack Whitaker, who was one of my favorite broadcasters growing up, passed away over the weekend at the age of 95. From the very first Super Bowl to Secretariat's Triple Crown, This guy did it all. Did you know Jack Whitaker very well at all?
Yeah, we've crossed paths a few times during his days at ABC, and he was a consummate professional. But my recollection and impression was that he was so smooth and so urbane, and he had a great, not only a speaking style but a writing style. He always talked about he would write his own essays, and probably the listeners will remember whether it was at the Kentucky Derby, when he would kind of give his verbal essay about the wonderful, sport of the Kings and talk about the race horses, and he was so eloquent, and so many other national figures have patterned themselves after him, whether it was the Jim McKays of the world or even a Jim Nance, who's more recent. When Jim Nance talks about the beauty of the Masters, I think they were copying the style of Jack Whitaker, a great essayist as well as an announcer.
Yeah. He will be missed. 95. He lived an exceptional life. He actually, I believe he fought in World War II. So he was around for a long time.
Yeah, he was great. Well, we're just hoping, Dave, that you, as an acclaimed national, voice, can go 95 years as well.
I would love that. That would be.
That's my wish for you.
I would sign up for that right now.
Good.
As we get set, it won't be long. A week from Saturday, where Memphis and Ole Miss will square off in the same stadium where you play your bowl game every year. And I kind of wanted to sort of familiarize, because there are some changes, at least in terms of the American, the bowl matchups that each league, or at least the American and the SEC, has in the pecking order. And let's start with the American, where if you are a champion and you've had the best year of any of the Group of Five, you go to the New Year's Day Six Bowl, and that this year I believe is the Cotton Bowl.
That's exactly right. Then remember, the way it works is that there's, of the 12 spots in the, quote, New Year's Six, they're not New Year's anymore. Remember, the grand game plan was to have 3 on the 31st and 3 on the 1st, but now they've moved out where they've got 3 on the Saturday, the 20, I guess it's the 28th, is it, this year, and then 3 on New Year's Day, and we're on the 31st. The AutoZone Liberty Bowl is on the 31st. But anyway, of those 12 spots, 1 spot automatically goes to the highest-ranked champion. Remember, that's a key word. It's the highest-ranked champion of the Group of Five, which is the 5 conferences, not called the Autonomous 5 or the Power 5 in their parlay. So that's be the highest-ranked champion from the American, the Mountain West, the Sun Belt, the MAC, and let's see, who am I missing there with the those conferences. That, and there was a time when people were kind of concerned there could be a champion of a conference that would have a lesser record than, say, let's say UCF is not the champion, but they have a great record, but then Boise State's the champion of the Mountain West, so you have to be a champion as well. So that's a twist there. But yes, that spot. So if Memphis runs the table here, and we talked about it last night when Tony Barnhart from CBS and the SEC channel was here, and we talked a lot about that, about could the champion of the American this year, jump in ahead of a one-loss team from one of the Power 5 conferences. And, I think that's a good possibility, but they're going to get the automatic slot in the Cotton Bowl. But could they jump into the 2 semifinal games of the 1 versus 4 and the 2 versus 3?
And then I don't know if there's a true pecking order for the rest of the bowls between the new one in Boston, or the Birmingham Bowl, or the Boca Bowl. These are the bowls that you're in. The Hawaii Bowl has been a team that a bowl that's been correlated with the American, and it's not every year that they are in. What's sort of the pecking order? I know this: the highest ranked teams that the American has. Mike Oresco told us this last year at the Navy game. The highest rated teams he wants against Power 5 teams in the bowls that offer that matchup.
That's right, because he's obviously on the campaign, and he's done a great job with it. And the schools like Memphis have done a good job of proving that they're worthy of that Power 6 ranking that the American has pushed out. Now, the Boston Bowl, there's been a lot of publicity about that, and that doesn't actually start until the next cycle in 2020. So this is the sixth year of the first 6 years of the first cycle. When we say the first cycle of the New Year's Six, and then the rest of us bowls that followed that, we're all on. There was a 6-year cycle, and then there's another 6-year cycle that starts in 2020, and of course goes through 2025. So, beginning in 2020, the ACC will send a team to the Boston game against an American team, and you're right. I think Commissioner Oresco would try and encourage a team, on the East Coast to play in Boston, and certainly the ACC is hoping that somebody like a Boston College or a Syracuse, somebody up there that's in that quadrant of the country. So, but the lineup this year, so you hit it right on the head, David, that if the champion is the highest ranked, then they would go to the Cotton Bowl and play in that game. And then here's the lineup for the rest of the American, which these could be potential landing spots for the University of Memphis. And these are not in any particular order. I think the way the conference has set it up, and especially because most of these bowls are owned and operated by ESPN, they'll move them around based on geography and matchups. And just like you said, I think the American would want to get their best teams to go against the Power 5 opponents. So, and I'll just run through these really quickly. The Frisco Bowl, which is down there in Frisco, Texas, in Toyota Stadium.
Dallas suburb in a
MLS
MLS soccer
suburb.
Stadium.
You hit it right in the head. And then the Cherry Bundy Boca Raton Bowl, which is down at the FAU Stadium in Boca Raton. The Sophie Hawaii Bowl, which is, of course, out in Honolulu, and that's on the Christmas Eve night there on the 24th. The Birmingham Bowl, which, of course, Memphis played in last year down at Legion Field, that's on January 2nd. And the Auto Nation Cure Bowl, which is that third bowl. I hope that's not in the line for the University of Memphis, because it's the third bowl in Orlando. They're kind of like the stepchild there. Then you get the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl, which is in Tampa, and that's an early game, December 23rd. And then the Military Bowl there, which is in Annapolis in Navy Stadium on December 27th.
They always get that bowl game if they're bowl eligible.
If they're bowl eligible, they'll stay at home, and they love doing that. And so that's the lineup there now. And I think we talked about it a little bit on your show here that the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, we have a secondary agreement with the American, which we appreciate and love. In fact, we'd love someday to be able to move that if we can get ESPN to go along with it, to get back to the days when we had the champion of Conference USA, which now the American is so much similar to the old Conference USA, and that's how Memphis participated in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl 2 years ago. That if we don't have a team from either the Big 12 or the SEC, then we would reach out and select a team from the American. And of course, Memphis is a good candidate there. They had a great experience. Unfortunately, with that 1 point there stood in the way of them winning that bowl game against Iowa State. But so that's the lineup for this year's American Conference.
And there really is, other than the best team from the group of 5 goes to the Cotton Bowl, and if the champion of the American qualifies for that, they go there. Otherwise, there's really no pecking order. Then deals are made by the commissioner.
That's correct. And if we're involved as the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, we would peck at the highest level there because we would want to have an outstanding team to play here against either the Big 12 or the SEC.
In all honesty, though, and it used to be that the bowls and the schools themselves, the players, would vote on these kinds of things. That sort of thing is out the window now, isn't it?
Dave, I'm not sure that was ever there, because when I was a dumb and young assistant coach at Colorado in 69, 70, 71, there was always that talk about the players voting, but I don't think it ever really happened. I remember being there, but the coaches all made the deals 40, 50 years ago. I can still remember our coach Eddie Crowder calling up Bear Bryant and saying, "Okay, we'll play Colorado, play Alabama in the Liberty Bowl in Memphis," or Bear Bryant calling up somebody else and say, "Oh, I'll play you down here in this bowl." So I'm not sure there was ever too much of a democratic vote by the players. And of course, at the Rose Bowl, it was always the Big Ten champion against the Pac-12, and the Orange Bowl started. They had the Big 8 champion playing against. I guess it was the. I can't remember whether it was the ACC then or just what it was. So, but in the old days, there was some movement around that a bowl would invite a team, and then the team, usually the coach on the field would say, "Okay, do you want to go to this bowl?" But generally, it's been now it's totally different. That the contracts are always in place well in advance. That's why we have this. And so, yeah, the Memphis fans, if they could look at the Cotton Bowl, they have to be the highest ranked. That doesn't mean they have to be undefeated. Now, to get into the 1 versus 4 and the 2 versus 3, they would definitely have to be 13-0 to break into that chain.
I promise you, a 1-loss team from a Power 5 would beat an undefeated Group of 5 or Group of 6, if you want to call it a Power 6. I don't believe the American would get in unless there were only 2 or 3 teams. That had better records, and the rest had 2 losses.
You're right, David, and I think that's one of the anomalies of the whole system. That a UCF 2 years ago, which proven that they were as good as anybody around, and they didn't even get close. And so I think you're right. But the Cotton Bowl is an outstanding bowl, and if the Tigers do go 13-0 and or even 12-1, and they're the conference champion, they'd be playing a good opponent down there in the Cotton Bowl. So that would be a great reward for the university for a great season. And then I guess if we were available, I still remember the Hall, the linebacker for the Tigers from Collierville High School, said one of his greatest thrills in
Are you talking about Austin Hall?
Yeah, that he said that one of his greatest thrills was the opportunity to play here in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl in front of that great crowd and to be proud to represent them. So, whether that would happen again or not, but because Missouri is still fighting their probation issue with the NCAA, it's a possibility, but I don't. It's just one of that's we say it's a quote secondary agreement, and we've looking at certainly the schedules and of both the SEC and the Big 12, and we were hoping that a team from the SEC like a Tennessee or Mississippi, who haven't been in the game for a long time, even Mississippi State's been 5 years. The Arkansas people are still hopeful they can win 6. I don't know if they can win 6 in that tough conference playing on the west side, but I think that's most likely the team that we would have from the SEC. And then already we've been in some pretty good contact with schools like Texas Tech and Baylor, who have not played in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl for a long time. It's certainly a long time for Baylor, and Texas Tech has never played here, and they'd very much like to play here with that offense that they have. So, I don't want to mislead anybody. It's certainly we would love to have the Tigers again, but again, that's a long shot.
All right, so give us the pecking order of the way it works with the SEC and the Big 12. Let's face it, Texas is not going to come here, because I don't think there's a bowl that's pretty much at your level, which is a good level, the same as the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, and that's the Houston Bowl. They're not letting the Texas Longhorns out of that state.
You're right about that, David. I think the odds of us having Texas or Oklahoma are very slim. Now, there was a year when Texas didn't even play in a bowl game, when that would have been the year that we maybe had they won their 6th game. But I think Texas and Oklahoma are so big and so strong. In the state of Texas, you've got both the Houston Bowl and the San Antonio Bowl, who are not going to pass on them. So the pecking order in the Big 12 is as follows for the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. You get the teams that get into the CFP, the College Football Playoff, and then the San Antonio Bowl. They select, then the bowl there in Orlando selects, and then the Houston Bowl selects, then we select, and then there's 2 other bowls that are below us that select. It's the Arizona Bowl, the Cheez-It Bowl, I think, is their sponsor now down in Phoenix, and then the Dallas Bowl. They select, those 2 bowls select behind us out of the Big 12. So that is an old style selection process, a pecking order. In the SEC, it is different, and the CFB, of course, is first, and then after that becomes the Citrus Bowl there in Orlando, and then we have what's called the SEC pool, where there are 6 of us that are looped together, and we're all in one pool. We all pay the same amount, and so the league, in conjunction with the universities, make a decision. They ask us for our input, and then they'll assign somebody. And it's worked out well for us over the years. Last year we wanted Missouri. Missouri hadn't been in our game in many years, and so we were able to get Missouri. And then before that, we've had Georgia. Of course, the year before they became fighting for the national championship. We've had we had Georgia against TCU. We had I'm trying to think now. I'm blanking out here on. We had Mississippi State in the game within this context of that. We've had, before this we had Arkansas against Kansas State, and so we had Texas A&M. So we've had good representative teams over this last 5 years of this cycle, and this is the 6th year. So, that's why we're hoping we have not had a Tennessee or Ole Miss in the game, so it would round that out pretty well for having different teams from the SEC in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl.
And I think both those teams would be happy to come here at this particular time in their program's stage.
That's exactly right. And again, Archie Manning always reminds me, wait a minute, you haven't had Ole Miss in a long time. And, Alabama claims a lot of history with the AutoZone Liberty Bowl going back to Bear Bryant's first game and Bear Bryant's last game, but he says Ole Miss is undefeated in AutoZone Liberty Bowl history. They're 4-0, and remember the great tribute to Chucky Mullins. And in fact, they're making a feature-length movie in Hollywood about the Chucky Mullins story.
Really?
We gave him some footage, and there's some great scene. I've seen the trailer on the movie about when remember Chucky was in the hospital here in Memphis for so long, and then they brought him down the ramp of the tunnel there of the Liberty Bowl to, join his teammates when they played the Air Force Academy back in, 1991? Maybe your listeners will remember that exact year. But so Ole Miss hasn't been here in so many years, and you're right. If they could win enough games, and so for their season, this game against Memphis here a week from Saturday is very critical to their future here for the success of their season, just as it is for the University of Memphis to get off to a great start.
All right. So, what do you think? Break that down, that game down a little bit for me. What's your hunch?
Well, this is I want you to find out. So tomorrow on your show, I want you to give us a good weather report. I know it's still 10 days out, but if the weather is, somebody came by my office today and said the weather could be cooler than normal at that time of the year. That it could be in the low 80s, which would be I think wonderful for the game and for the fans there, rather than being 95 degrees heat. That if it's 82, for example, and I think that'll make a lot of difference. And I know Coach Norvell is very positive about his depth, and he says I think he's got a faster team overall, the team speed, and especially with the depth that he's achieved now with his now in his 4th year with the recruiting base that he's got there. And so there's going to need, for a reason I'm getting to that, is a need for a lot of players to be ready to make good contributions on the field, especially the first game and in the middle of the day. And even if it's only 82 on the stadium floor, it's going to be plenty hot there with the reflection out of that. So I believe that depth will be a key factor in the game, and then I also think that I know Coach Norvell's been very high on. It's Kenny Gainwell, isn't he? The young running back who did his redshirt year last year, and when people say, well, both Henderson and Pollard have graduated or not graduated to the NFL, they moved on to the NFL. Hopefully they'll both come back and get their actual graduation degree, but that. Will Memphis be missing that game-breaking speed that both Pollard and Henderson had? But I think Gainwell has that speed to go along with Patrick Taylor, so they'll have enough game-breaking ability there. And, of course, the quarterback now, another year under his belt. And, so I think he's very, very optimistic, and I think should be optimistic. But I think on the same hand, Ole Miss, nobody's given them much respect here. I think, they were picked to be, right there with Arkansas to be, bringing up the rear there of the SEC West. But that's when a team can come up and bite you. This is their first year of those kids to be playing for a bowl game, and they know they got to get their 6 wins to have a season-ending reward. So I think Ole Miss is going to come up here and they're going to play a tough ball game. So I really foresee a really tight game. Probably the depth there will play a big picture there in that third going into the fourth quarter, and a lot of the second, and I don't want to say second team guys, but a lot of the rotation of the especially pass rushers and offensive linemen there in the second half will be the key to the game.
He's the big cheese, the head honcho of the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. Thank you, Steve. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, and thanks to everybody that supports the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. Looking forward to a great year, December 31, 2:45 p.m.
There we go. We got it. Thank you. And we take this quick time out. I'll let you know this portion of the show brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch. The perfect marriage of service and business and product. You've got assurance. That's a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty on all new vehicles. All you got to do is take Lamar into Mississippi, turn left at Craft Road. You'll find Homer Skelton Hyundai. Back in a minute, we've got Crunch Time next on Sports Time with Wolo and Stats.
Search Sports 56 on Facebook and give us a like. And follow us on Twitter at Sports 56 WHBQ.
And now, the worst commercial ever.
I'm just your average, everyday, hard-working plumber. But when it comes to my business, only the best. Like commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive. They help design a customized insurance solution that gets the job done right. Just like me.
An actor trying to sound like a plumber. Excruciating. Whereas commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive is anything but. Visit ProgressiveCommercial.com to quote today. Insurance provided and serviced by Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. It's affiliated and third-party insurers.
Is your wife asking you to stop eating junk food? Well, we have you covered at Humdinger's. It's quick and it's healthy, and most important, it tastes amazing. With many choices from salmon salad to rainbow trout and grilled asparagus. Come visit us for lunch at Humdinger's, 6300 Poplar Avenue. So good, Coach Penny eats with us weekly. Don't forget, Humdinger's offers full-service catering for weddings, social events, or your corporate lunches. You can call 901-260-8292 to find out more.
Looking for a great place to deposit your money? Try First Bank. Competitive CD rates, a money market that moves with Wall Street prime and interest-bearing checking account options. Not to mention their friendly bankers who make decisions locally. To find out more, stop by one of First Bank's 3 local branches. 6482 Poplar Avenue, just east of International Paper. 8398 Highway 64 across from Wolf Chase. And 6280 Highway 64 in Oakland. Or visit firstbankonline.com. Member FDIC.
Are you tired of all the clouds and bad weather? Rain brings pollutants that can wreak havoc on your car's finish. But there is someone who can help. Car Wash USA Express has introduced their most advanced car wash yet with the exclusive Polymer Pro Wash, creating a stronger, more consistent protective sealant for your car's finish. Polymer Pro can only be found at Car Wash USA Express, where attendants are always on duty to keep you and your vehicle safe. For more information and locations, visit carwashusaexpress.com. Car Wash USA Express, because a dirty car is a dirty shame.
Welcome back to Sports Time with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Wolosian and Brad Norsworthy.
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! This is Geraldo. It is crunch time. You are looking live. It's crunch time. In your life, have you seen anything like that?
We'll take questions again for the student athletes at this time, please.
He's a professional. He's pretty classy for his age.
Crunch time, that's the frustrating part.
Little Penny could make some appearances this year.
Okay, I'm not huge into stats.
Has it always been this way?
It's crunch time, so I got a different mind state.
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
Is this thing working?
Immediately when the buzzer sounds, he lets out this shriek.
He threw those ears forward, and he was in stroke mode.
This is stupid.
It's obviously crunch time.
Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken, plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips, topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day.
Here's what I learned today. Ronda Rousey was most recently, involved in pro wrestling, but there was nothing staged about this. The former UFC and, of course, WWE champion nearly lost her middle finger while filming Fox show's 911. Apparently, she wrote that a door fell on her hand during a take. It was a boat door. She said she went through the take without even looking at her finger. Once she looked, she told the director, and she was rushed to the hospital. Her finger was just hanging there. Ugh. Here's what I could have done without. This story came out late yesterday. Tiger linebacker, former Lausanne player Niall Love becomes the third University of Memphis player to enter the transfer portal. Now, Memphis is deep at that position, and it may have come into play here that Love didn't think it was going to work out for him. What am I taking a look at tonight? Keeping my eye on the Brewers and the Cardinals. Brewers need to win that game for the Chicago Cubs. Cardinals, half-game lead in that National League Central. And, of course, the Cubs are playing the Giants tonight. We want to thank Doug Barrett, Gabe Kuhn, Brent Beard, Jeff Moore, Bo Marchant, and Steve Arrett, and, of course, Drew Barrett for all of his good work today. This final portion brought to you in part by Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. Have you ever noticed your air conditioning system never breaks down at a good time? And that's the truth. Now we know at Conway the timing's not always right to replace your air conditioning systems, and that's why they've always got financing options available. And right now you can get a new Carrier for as low as $99 a month. That's right. Conway will give you a Carrier air conditioning system for as low as $99 a month, and everybody can do that. I know it. Plus, you get 10-year parts warranty free, a free Nest thermostat, latest and greatest, and you always get that great award-winning service every time. So call Conway, 384-3511. That's Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. Big show coming your way tomorrow, including Chris Raby, the Chicago, George Hoffman, and a whole lot more. That'll do it. Have a good night, everybody.
And now, the worst commercial ever.
I'm just your average, everyday, hard-working plumber. But when it comes to my business, only the best. Like commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive. They help design a customized insurance solution that gets the job done right. Just like me.
An actor trying to sound like a plumber. Excruciating. Whereas commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive is anything but. Visit ProgressiveCommercial.com to quote today. Insurance provided and serviced by Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Its affiliated and third-party insurers.
Looking good and feeling good? You've been to Roosters Men's Grooming, the all-American classic barbershop. Whether boy or man, Sportster or professional, when service matters, Roosters is the choice for all gentlemen. Roosters Men's Grooming offers a full-service shave, precision haircuts, and more. All with top-of-the-line products and a truly professional atmosphere. They even remember your name and offer you a beer. When looking good and feeling good matters, relax and unwind at Roosters Men's Grooming, Paragon Place, 6300 Poplar.
Do you want to learn to speak a new language but don't have enough time? Then you need to try Babbel, the language learning app that you can try for free right now at Babbel.com. Babbel's lessons are just 15 minutes or less, and you can go at your own pace. You'll be amazed at how easy